Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for being here and joining me this Friday afternoon, evening for some of you guys. I know it's still the afternoon where I'm at. But I'm happy to have you. Thank you for stopping by. So on the way in, be sure to hit the like button, like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Shout out to you guys in the comment section. Thank you, Demetrius, for starting this live off right. You guys, let's get those likes up. Support your favorite content creators. And as always, if you like what is going on here, if you appreciate this content, be sure to show some love on the Cash App or Venmo, Shay Sade. As always, I'll be sure to acknowledge Cash Apps, Venmos, and Super Chats. So support your favorite content creators. Anyways, what's going on, Alpha Omega? I see y'all in the chat going back and forth. Yeah, it sounds like y'all have a lot to say. So anyways, this is this should be an interesting discussion. The question on whether or not disliking men can cause women to become lesbians. And this may seem random. I know I did a poll about this a couple of days ago, and I got some mixed, reviews. I had some people who were like, yes, there is an absolute direct connection between misandry and hatred towards men and lesbianism. And some people were just like, no, you're born that way. And so, of course, people are going to be all across the spectrum when it comes to this. But I must say, currently for me, the way this topic even started to come up is that I started noticing this trend between women who were saying really misandrous things, or saying really disrespectful things about men. Think, for example, a couple of months back, I don't know if you guys remember the Black female therapist who went viral for saying some really bad things about Black men. And, her focus was giving therapy to Black men. And so she just said some really misandrous things. She kind of, went viral or whatever, but I don't think anything really happened to her other than her going viral. But really, really negative things. Just, you could tell that there seemed to be some anger. And then lo and behold, you look at some of her history, and she talked about how she had negative relationships with her dad. And I think she had a baby father or something, and that didn't work out too well. And later on, she kind of talked about becoming a lesbian in that journey. And I've even seen women in comments, and I've seen conversations just online, going in and out of women talking about their frustration with men and talking about them having bad situations and being heartbroken and opening up their options to the same gender. And so I just noticed this time and time and time again. And I started to wonder, like, is there a connection here? Is there a connection between these women out there who they weren't born, they can't say they were born this way, but for a series of events, failed relationships, inability to get along with men or whatever, they have chosen to go this route, or they feel that route is better for them. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Again, this is just more for discussion. Shout out to you for you guys who are coming in here. As always, like, share, subscribe. Now, I do have a couple of pieces. I have a couple of things I want to review for context, because I think until you can kind of see what I'm talking about or play some examples, it's not really going to make sense. So I'm going to have a few examples that I've seen in social media go viral, some recent conversations, and then we are going to break it down. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna bring up for you guys is a video that came across my feed a couple of weeks back. It was of a woman who was being interviewed, and then she basically talked about, why she's a lesbian, her choice to only date women, and all of that. So I'm gonna bring that up, and then we will get started. Okay. Wait, did I put this? Okay, you guys bear with me. I'm trying to get the right one. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, this is always a fun part, is bringing up. So I think this is it. Let's see, is that the one? Okay, I think this is.
How old?
Okay, so I'm gonna play this. You guys, let me know if in the comment section if you have any issues with audio. But again, this is an interview. It came across my feed of a lovely young woman who was basically talking about why she decided to, why she essentially has only dated women. And again, this is distinctive from those who said that they were born with same-sex attraction. So let's continue.
How old are you?
23.
How old is your man?
I actually have a girlfriend.
Okay, that's sick. So wait, are you bi, straight, or what?
I'm lesbian.
What made you realize you didn't like men?
I don't click with them. I don't have that emotional connection. It was kind of platonic. Like, I get over it really quickly. I get bored. The maturity wasn't there. The emotional availability wasn't there. It didn't click at all.
What else was he lacking? Was it the sex too, or?
It's not even about him. It's just, I personally cannot see myself marrying a man.
But were you attracted to him at all?
Anybody can be physically attractive. Doesn't mean that I want to be with them. Before anything, I had a girlfriend before I ever had a boyfriend. So I already knew that I liked girls by the time I tried to be with a guy. Only reason I tried to be with a guy was because my family is really religious.
Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't even for me or for the guy's sake. It was more to please my family.
So I don't know if you guys heard that. A couple of things that stood out to me about. She said the emotional maturity wasn't there, no emotional connection. She said the connection, it just wasn't there. And then she further went on to reiterate. She's like, it's not that I don't find these men attractive. It's not that they're not good looking or whatever. It's just there's this disconnect. So I want you guys to notice the language. It wasn't like I'm just not attracted at all. I have zero attraction for these guys. Nothing. Like, notice she didn't say that. She admitted that, yeah, she did have some form of it. There was an attraction. There's different things, but there just wasn't that click. So again, I want you guys to pay attention to that language. Now I'm going to turn your attention to another video. She actually responded to that video because I think it went viral, and she went to try to break down a little bit more why, in her experience, she has chosen to be lesbian. Okay. Okay, so here is the other one. That's not it. Oh, yeah, that is actually.
I explain to men that I have a girlfriend and my overall.
Okay, let me go back. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so now she is responding to her video that went viral. She's stitching it.
I actually have a girlfriend.
Okay, that's sick. So wait, are you bi, straight, or what?
When I explain to men that I have a girlfriend and my overall dating preferences are for women and non-binary lesbians, I often get a very similar reaction where a man's really searching to find himself reflected somewhere in my sexual identity. The reality is there is a huge skills gap between men and women in terms of the basic empathy and consideration and communication skills that you need to maintain a relationship, as has been discussed at length on this platform. So too is the reality that women don't need men to get a bank account, and we are finally in an era that is a little, sometimes, more free for queer people, a little. So now men aren't getting relationships out of a deep societal obligation of women to end up with men. And that really scares them, because a world where their simple existence isn't enough to maintain a relationship means they actually have to grow.
Whoa, so y'all heard the shade in that. Okay, I'm gonna play that again. I wanted you guys to hear its entirety. I'm gonna play it one more time, then I'm gonna give some commentary. But notice, you guys, the shade, the amount of constant put downs that were related towards men. So I'm gonna play this again, and then we can break it down. Okay.
I actually have a girlfriend.
Okay, that's sick. So wait, are you bi, straight, or what?
When I explain to men that I have a girlfriend and that my overall dating preferences are for women and non-binary lesbians, I often get a very similar reaction, where a man's really searching to find himself reflected somewhere in my sexual identity.
You know, so hey, what's going on for you guys who are joining? Like, share, subscribe on the way in here. So, okay, something she mentioned, a man is searching to try to find himself in my sexual identity. I don't know that really makes sense to me, but I think there's this misandrist idea out there that basically assumes that men can only be men as long as they're with women, or men only feel masculine as long as they are oppressing or dominating women. That's an idea that I've seen echoed in feminism, which I think is totally and completely false. Now, that might be true in some instances for some particular kind of men who are really insecure, but to just say a fundamental aspect of masculinity is feeling like you need to be able to control women or be able to dominate women in some way, shape, or form to feel like a man. I don't know. That sounds very, I just don't think that's true personally. But already that comment of these men are searching to find themselves in my femininity, I'm like, that seems questionable at best. What's going on, Daisy? Shout out to you for the 5. Miss you, Sade. Hey. Thank you so much for the constant support. You guys like, share, subscribe. Also, be sure to show some love on the Cash App, Super Chat, Venmo, Shay Sade. As always, I will be sure to acknowledge Cash Apps and all of you guys. As we know, this is a community-funded, operated channel. So without your guys' support, then I get nothing. So I appreciate those of you who are helping to keep this thing going and thriving. Okay, let's continue. We are now we're reviewing the first video of the woman responding to her viral video of her explaining why she is lesbian. And what I noticed, and what I am noticing so far, is that there is an extreme level of disrespect or disdain for masculinity. Let's continue.
The reality is there is a huge skills gap between men and women in terms of the basic empathy and consideration and communication skills that you need to maintain a relationship, as has been discussed at length on this platform.
Okay, so you guys heard that. She says there is a huge gap in empathy and communication skills and whatever is essentially needed in order to be able to maintain a healthy relationship, as has been explained in length. So I guess in her channel, she's talked about all the different ways men are deficient in being able to have empathy and have healthy relationships and emotionally communicate and back and forth. Here is the problem, and I've heard this with heterosexual women, where women feel sometimes that men are supposed to act and emote the same way. Like, men and women are different. We experience similar emotions, but we are wired differently. And so in this feminist era, one, I think, of the biggest lies is that men and women are essentially the same, and that they can pretty much operate the same if they choose to do so. And it's like, first of all, biology alone shows us that there are some clear differences between male and female. Secondly, the way men act, their emotional setup, their emotional makeup, how they express themselves is different. It is not worse or better It is different. And I think one of the main problems that we have when it comes to men's lack of empathy or whatever is because you have women who are sitting in a corner trying to get men to act like they're women. And that's never going to happen if you are dealing with a masculine man. Again, if you want a man to protect and to provide and to, be that secure source, if you want him to do that, he doesn't necessarily have the capacity or the time to be sitting around thinking about his emotions every 15 seconds. And again, there is a place in this space for men to be emotional and express themselves, but they're not wired the way women are. And so I see this consistent complaint all the time that men they're lacking empathy and they're not emotionally available and they're not emotionally this. And it's like, meanwhile, it's because women are thinking that men need to act the same way. That they need to process things the same way. They need to go through the same emotional ups and downs, highs and lows that we do. And that is completely and totally incorrect. Anybody who's been married for any length of time will tell you that men communicate differently, that they're a lot more simple when it comes to certain things. It's really not all that deep. For women, it may be all that deep, and we want to really analyze and we want to go to the different layers and peel through the different onions of our emotions. And we really, really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of all of the different feelings and the different colors and the different tones of the emotional climate. And for some dudes, it's just like, it's not that serious. Literally, it's literally not that serious. And so I think already the fundamental breakdown when you have some of these women coming to the conversation saying men are emotionally deficient is because they're judging men based upon female standards, not understanding that men were created differently. They have an emotional state, but it is different and unique. And instead of shaming it, and instead of trying to tear it down or saying it's inefficient, respect it for being different. Because again, if you want a man who can protect and provide and go into the hard world and make the money necessary and create a safe fortress and protect you from different outside forces and make sure and provide a stable home, so you can nest or whatever, if you want that, his emotional state has to be different. He has to be alert to certain things that you're not alert to. He has to know how to protect. He has to know when to be in protection mode. He has to know when to be vulnerable. He has to know when to be on guard. Like, it's a totally different dynamic. And so it is completely disrespectful, in my opinion, when women come into the situation and tear men down for not being women. Like I said, it's not going to happen. If you are dealing with a masculine man, you cannot expect him to talk to you and act like he's one of your girlfriends or your sisters. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So let me continue. And again, this is something that I hear consistently I've heard this with heterosexual women, in this case, lesbian women who are trying to figure out what they are. But this idea of men being emotionally deficient, not understanding that men are different. Meanwhile, I find it rich. It's so interesting to me that somehow women have all of the capacities, everything that it takes to be so emotionally well-rounded and know how to get along in relationships. And meanwhile, lesbian relationships are some of the most physically violent relationships out there. Imagine that. Imagine that. Let's continue.
So too is the reality that women don't need men to get a bank account, and we are finally in an era that is a little, sometimes, more free for queer people.
Y'all notice that? Finally, women are free. They don't need men for a bank account. I mean, think about that. As if men are just some commodity, that they're just walking bank accounts. Or as if they are just there to provide the financial means. They're a means to the end. And now, therefore, since we don't need men to provide that financial security, then we don't need men, period. Think about, again, those subtle lies that have been introduced through feminism and other misandrist doctrine that I think is completely and totally detrimental not only to society, but now to women and how they view men, how they view themselves. To me, it's really prideful and, again, dishonoring, because if we simply look at men as means to an end, as just humans who are strictly here for the express purpose of making sure that they create money for women, then as soon as that function is done and they don't need men for money, then it's like they have no value. And that's essentially what's kind of happened with some of these different ideas that have been floating around. It's as if men have no value outside of what they can produce monetarily. And if a woman has the ability to produce her own money, then therefore there's no more masculinity needed. That is a complete perversion, in my opinion, because it's like God created man and woman. They both have important, incredible qualities, beautiful qualities that are essential for the overall well-being of society. When women are not operating in their function, when they are not operating according to God-given function, things go disarray. And the same with men. With men, when they're not operating according to their God-given function, things go out of order. I mean, all we have to do is look in society and see that there are plenty of things that are out of order. So I think this inaccurate view of masculinity and what it is and what God intends and what God made it to be, it being disrespected, again, it opens the door for not only all this kinds of disrespect. I think when it comes to maybe how women view men and all that, I think it starts to create, again, these larger issues that we are seeing in society. The reason this gender war we have going on now, first of all, it's a first world problem, because we already know where these conversations aren't happening in a society where women literally depend upon men to live and survive, as far as making sure that they have protection, water, food, whatever it may be. So first of all, this is a first world problem. Let's say that. But secondly, again, when you start to have these ideas floating around in mainstream society, it creates this ripple effect that we see going on today. Crazy. What's going on, y'all? Like, share, subscribe on the way. Okay, let me continue this.
A little. So now men aren't getting relationships out of a deep societal obligation of women to end up with men. And that really scares them, because a world where their simple existence isn't enough to maintain a relationship means they...
Okay, I need to go back. Deep societal obligation. I'm sorry. Let me just go back to that real quick.
Societal obligation of women to end up with men. And that really scares them, because a world where their simple existence isn't enough to maintain a relationship means they actually have to grow.
Okay, so again, I see y'all in the comment section like, what in the hell? What is going on? So, I mean, y'all thought that was a quick 2-minute video, but y'all saw the shade, y'all saw the disrespect and the disdain for masculinity in that. Now, again, this is just one person. I'm not going to sit here and say, obviously, that all women are like that, that every woman who is a lesbian or bisexual or has alternative sexuality doesn't like men. Like, I don't think that's true, but I am noticing, I will say, in my own life, I have noticed this trend for certain women who embrace alternative sexuality, who want nothing to do with men sexually, romantically. I have noticed consistently, time and time again, that it's usually coupled with some form of misandry. I'm not going to say it's all the time, but much of the time I've noticed it be coupled with some form of misandry. Sometimes it could be blatant, as in the case of that woman, where she talked about them not having the empathy, not being emotionally available, not having the relationship skills necessary in order to maintain a healthy relationship. While meanwhile, lesbian relationships, again, are some of the most violent, aggressive relationships out there to date. Yet somehow women have cracked the code on being able to maintain healthy relationships long term, and all they have to do is get together and all these problems will go away. And yet these problems show up when they get together. But anyways, that's besides the point. My point is, I have noticed this trend, and I'll be curious to see how things, what happens over the next couple of years as we see society do what it do. But I do think it's something that needs to be noted. Okay, so that was just a quick one. Now, I want to turn your attention to another interview that I want to break down. I don't know I'm going to have a chance to do all of it because the full interview, it was like straight up, I think. It was like a full 3.5 hour interview. So I ain't going to sit here and do all of it. Right. But this topic, is lesbianism the way to save Black women? This is from Tanya TKO, and she is featuring, I think, I guess she's a popular femininity coach or something called the Queenmaker. I was told about her maybe a month or two ago from a content creator. So I think I don't know if she's newer on the scene or just gaining more popularity. But anyways, they have this whole talk about lesbianism, and it's all based upon saving yourself Black woman. Y'all know SOSBM, I guess now they're trying to do is save yourself Black woman. And the way that Black women maybe are saving themselves is through lesbianism. I think this is what the whole topic is about. So we're going to play aspects of it. I'm not going to play the entire thing because it's 3.5 hours, but I'm going to play enough just so that you guys can get a sense of what we're talking about. Because as I mentioned before, I'm noticing more and more of this trend as women are buying into the lie that, you know, men aren't needed, or men are this, or men are trash, or they have their own failed relationships, and they look at their family and their mama couldn't get along with nobody, or and the auntie can't, and the grandma was single, and now they're single with a baby daddy. And so there's all this line, there's all these generations of women who, for whatever reason, didn't know how to get along with men, or for whatever reason didn't have healthy, stable relationships. And then now you enter that into a society where misandry is largely being driven, and I'm noticing a shift. I'm seeing it more and more and more and more. And so again, that's what we're unpacking today. Shout out to you, Marriage, Politics, and Sports with the 10. It says female anger toward men definitely can make some turn to lesbianism, especially the submission part. Just like many gay and trans women want to escape responsibility and pressure of being a man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the cash up. Appreciate it.
That go the money. That go the money.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to play this just for copyright issues. I'm just going to play the audio just because I'm not sure how that page handles copyright. So I'm just going to play the audio. But if you guys want to go and check out the full interview, it is on Tanya TKO's channel. It is entitled, let me see, go back. Is Lesbianism the Way to Save Black Women, featuring the Queenmaker and Tanya TKO. So we'll get into it, and go from there. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Okay, bear with me, you guys. Actually, let me try this.
So you know.
Okay, let me just do this. You guys can see it, but I'm just gonna. Okay. So y'all let me know. If you guys have any audio issues, but I'm gonna play it for y'all, and we'll go from there. Let me fast forward this real quick. Wait, you guys, you can't hear any sound? Okay, no sound. Okay. Let me try this again. Y'all, forgive me. Actually, I might need to do it this way. Let me try it this way, guys. I might just have to play it. And then y'all just look at me. Let me know if you guys can hear the sound this time. Sorry about that.
Oh my goodness, you're gracing
Y'all hear
our broadcast today. So
let me know if y'all can hear that.
Oh my goodness, you're gracing our our broadcast today. So first of all, for the people who don't know you, introduce yourself so that they can find out who you are, what you're about, all of that.
Okay, well,
You can do
my
that.
name is Princella, and many refer to me as the Queen Maker, and others refer to me as Pastor P. I am a social reformer and for women's empowerment. So I have a back.
Real quick, I'm sorry. This is just me personally. No shade to her. When somebody says that they're a queen, my first thought is, okay, so what's the kingdom? What throne? Like, what nation, constituents? Like, who are you managing? Because Black women, one thing I've noticed, we really love to go around and throw around this royalty term. Just throw around that we're all queens and we're all this and that. But the thing about it is, being a queen comes with a high level of responsibility. Usually there's, coronation rights, there's different politics. You have to understand diplomacy. You can't just act like a commoner. And so we like to throw these terms around without actually understanding the implications behind it. And they're serious. I mean, could you imagine the Queen of England twerking on babies? Okay. Like, justifying that. Could you imagine? You wouldn't see that. So I understand, I think, the desire to want to try to ascribe some form of I don't know, value. I mean, I don't fully understand. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm like, ugh. When I hear queen, I'm like, okay, well, why? Why are you using that? What's the context? What's the reason? Because I'm seeing it now thrown around from women who act like commoners, not women who have any dignity or any decorum or any respect about themselves, anybody they're influencing positively or nothing, just using it and going around acting like a commoner. And I'm like, do y'all know what a queen means? Anyways, that's just a side note. What's going on? BGS, good to see you. Great to see you here. Also, shout out to you, Marriage Politics, the 5. It says, should have said gay men and trans women, both biological males. Princella, aka the Queen Maker, she not a femininity coach. She basically teaching an extreme feminist message to women. Okay, I'm not as familiar with her, so this is going to be a lesson for all of us while we're here. But this is Princella, as you can see, and Tanya 2KO, who I'm sure some of y'all are familiar with. And again, they're talking about lesbianism and whether or not Black women need to save themselves through lesbianism. So that's the topic. Okay, let's continue.
Background in cell and molecular biology. I was commissioned as an officer in the Army. I have a PMP certification, project management, and I was top sales in the car industry, cell phone industry, and direct marketing industry. And so I have a unique perspective that has allowed me to take all of my information that I've come across in life and package that in a way where it gives women clarity, not only about themselves, but also about men.
You know, what's so interesting, because she went off and she noted the different accomplishments she had in, for business, for her career, which no shade to her. But then she goes on to say, I want to take my business career experience and package that to teach women about men. And I'm like, I didn't hear, I've been married for X amount of years. I didn't raise kids. I didn't raise boys. I'm like, I'm thinking, if you're going to be giving people the keys and the tools on how to navigate relationships and understand male psychology, then you would actually be with a man. Like, you would have shown a successful relationship long-term with a man or with families in order to do so, not just relying on careers. And you see, and y'all, and this is another classic feminist talking point, that somehow because a woman went to college or because she got a nice career or went to an Ivy League school or whatever, that now she is guaranteed to have relational success. They don't teach you nothing about being a wife in college. I mean, they didn't even have home ec. They removed that from like high school. So even some of the small basic things they did have there that would kind of help teach a woman how to maintain a home aren't even there. So just because a woman has higher education does not mean that she is qualified to know anything about relationships. It requires being in a relationship, healthy relationships, long term, in order to give that kind of advice. I mean, that's my thought, but maybe I'm tripping. Let's continue.
So that they can make better decisions in their life. And as a result of that, I am known as the new lesbian cult leader, which is how we end up here today on this topic.
New lesbian cult leader. Okay. Wow.
You know what? Listen, why? This is how you coming out the box? You known as the lesbian cult maker?
Yeah, I'm the listen. I'm the lesbian maker. I'm the stud maker.
Okay, so y'all saying she has an ex-husband and a child. Okay, yeah. So her okay. So just so I'm clear, her divorce and her career give her the perfect background and credentials to teach women how to healthily navigate relationships. I just want to make sure I'm understanding, because y'all saying that she had, a divorce, the marriage didn't work out, and I think she had a molecular biology degree or something like that, and so because of that, she has what it takes to teach women how to succeed. I'm trying to catch the logic, but let's just continue. Maybe as she continues to talk, it'll make more sense. Okay. Let us continue.
I'm the single woman maker. You name it. I'm all this. So yeah, let's go ahead.
Y'all, she's telling you who she said she is the new lesbian cult leader. She is the single woman maker. Well, I mean, so I always say, look, if you're going to follow somebody, then just make sure that you like their results. Like, she's telling you what she's about. She's a single woman maker. So if you want to be a single woman, then basically listen to what she says, and she will be sure to keep you free from men. Okay.
And address the lesbian cult leader.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Well, all right. So you're ready to just jump into it. You done with the intros. You jumping right in, huh?
C word seems to have been misspelled.
Let's go ahead and meet it head on.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, you know what? Okay. Listen. All right. Okay. Let's meet it head on then. Talk. Oops. Talk. What is it a rumor or is it the truth, Ruth?
Well, what is what a rumor? Am I a lesbian cult leader or am I myself a lesbian? Okay. So let's break it down. First and foremost, I absolutely do date women, right? I do date women, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And I guess people have an issue because the messenger of the truth, which is rooted in scientific fact, which is rooted in philosophical fact, psychological fact, and sociological fact, the leader of this truth that is being spoken happens to be lesbian.
Okay. So y'all heard that. So I guess she's giving truth that is scientific, psychological. She said something else, but she's given some truth. Now I'll be curious to see if she has any sources for said truth, I guess, that she's going to be sharing. But I guess she has some truth that is, I don't really know. Maybe that's going to help determine why she believes lesbianism is a way. I'm not totally sure. It's not fully making sense to me. But what I will say is, y'all, everybody in here knows that women don't really care about science like that, or the data, or the analytics. I mean, some do on some level. But when it comes to the matters of the heart, women aren't going over there looking up data-driven studies and looking up, you know what I mean, analytics. They're not looking at peer-reviewed studies. They're not doing that. That's not the way women work, not when it comes to the matters of the heart. That's more of something that generally men do. So, but I think what she's trying to do is position herself as the leader. I mean, up to this entire point, she's kind of put herself as, I have what it takes. I have the background, I have the relationship experience, I have the science, I have the data, I have the life experience. So what she's done up to this point is kind of put herself as, I have what it takes to lead you. That's essentially what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Again, guys, like, share, subscribe. Let us continue.
Right now, I did not
Wait,
did
hold
not
on.
start out this way.
Hold on. So you are a lesbian?
She didn't said that like 50 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way y'all perceive me.
No.
Right? Since
You
I date women.
speaking your truth now. Are you a lesbian?
No, I'm saying I date women. So is that the way you perceive a woman who dates women? Is that the name y'all call it? Cool. I'll roll with that. I'll roll with that. So if that's the label that you give it, then yeah, I guess I am. According to y'all.
No.
So-
According to you. Because you speaking the truth. According to you.
No. Because I don't live by labels. Okay. See,
Oh, okay.
I'm
sorry. Okay. I don't live, y'all, personally. I don't live by labels. To me, anytime you can't get a straight answer was for something that's pretty simple, then I'm already like, my eyebrows raised. Like, is the sky blue? Yes or no? It's not, oh, well, the sky technically, depending upon the color scale and the gradient and the time of day. It's like, is the sky blue or no? It's a yes or no question. So to me, when things that are clearly established, that are pretty simple to answer, you got to come up with all this analytical. I'm like, what's going on here? Let's continue. What's going? Okay.
I'm a sapiosexual and I'm a demisexual, which puts me on the asexual spectrum.
Okay, right? I think I literally seen somebody in the comments that was like, anytime you see a woman that says she's sapiosexual, what that basically is, who said that? Let me see if I can find that comment. Somebody said that like early on. Oh, yeah, Alpha and Omega was like, no, women who say sapiosexual is a code word for lesbian, basically. It's part of the LGBT spectrum. Okay. I don't even know what that means, but she's about to explain it. She says that she's a sapiosexual, but then she said that she doesn't live by labels. Okay, let's continue.
So my sexuality is not rooted in biology. It's rooted in psychology. So I'm only attracted to people sexually based on intelligence and based on emotional connection. So once I came to the conclusion that men were not capable of these things, I decided to direct my energy towards women whom I know are capable of those things.
Okay. Y'all, so bam, 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 bam. Y'all heard that? First point. And this goes back to the thing that we seen earlier. This goes back to the thing that we saw earlier, where it was the lesbian that I reviewed in TikTok. She said, why is she lesbian? It wasn't like, oh, I just was born this way, or I don't have an attraction towards men. It was none of that. It's because men are deficient. They are incapable. They themselves are incapable of having that emotional connection. They themselves are incapable of anything related to maintaining a healthy long-term relationship. Now, again, I say this, the context of that is the women over here who are saying that men don't have the ability to maintain healthy relationships are the same women who are getting in relationships with other women and engaging in some of the highest amounts of interpersonal violence. Again, lesbian relationships are some of the most physically aggressive, violent relationships out there. And I'm not making this up. I've went over this multiple times in some of my previous videos when we look at some of the different stats related to interpersonal violence. It is female to female relationships. So for all this whole women are the ones who are emotionally available and they're the ones who are capable of being able to maintain healthy long-term relationships and healthy long-term boundaries and get along harmoniously, then please explain to me why female to female relationships seem to be some of the most physically aggressive. Can someone please tell me the logic? Because the math doesn't math when it comes to that. And again, it's usually when I hear the misandry, it's usually when I hear I have to go there because men are deficient. And it's like, we're only in 2-3 minutes in, and she's already starting with the misandry brainwashing. Oh, men, they're incapable of this, incapable of that. And remember, she started off the video by saying, I am the expert. I have the science. I have the data. I have the biology. I have the degree. I have the relationship. I have the experience. So she started off by saying, I have everything that you need. I have the truth. And now the truth is men are deficient. Y'all, isn't that crazy? Y'all, am I crazy? Crazy. That's pretty bold. That is pretty bold. Okay, so let's continue on this one. Really, really interesting point she made here. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way y'all perceive me.
No.
Since
You
I date women,
speaking your truth now. Are you a lesbian?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I date women. So is that the way you perceive a woman who dates women? Is that the name y'all call it? Cool. I'll roll with that. I'll roll with that. So if that's the label that you give it, then yeah, I guess I am, according to y'all.
No. According to you. Because you speaking the truth, according to you.
No. Because I don't live by labels. Okay. See, I'm a sapiosexual and I'm a demisexual, which puts me on the asexual spectrum, right? So my sexuality is not rooted in biology. It's rooted in psychology. So I'm only attracted to people sexually based on intelligence and based on emotional connection. So once I came to the conclusion that men were not capable of these things, I decided to direct my energy towards women whom I know are capable of those things. Now,
again, and you remember when I talked about this, women who come to the conclusion that men are incapable of having emotional connections, where they go wrong is assuming that men process and handle their emotions the same way. I think that's one of the fundamental issues. Women looking at men and judging men for not being women. And it's like, yeah, if you are with a strong heterosexual masculine man and you're expecting him to talk to you and giggle with you like you would your girlfriend, first of all, you wouldn't even be attracted to a dude like that. That would be your girlfriend, who you call in between boyfriends that you are no longer with. You know what I mean? But secondly, again, that idea that because these men are acting like me, I can't connect with them emotionally because they're men, and you connect with them in different ways, then therefore they're deficient. And that's why I'm like, that is to me the one of the core misandrous messages out there. And why not, instead of it being that men are emotionally deficient, why not just recognize that they're different? And then also, let's also just keep it a buck. As women, we can't expect men to open up in an environment that is toxic and unsafe for them. If you've already gone around telling them they're not this, they're not that, they're not worth it, you know, they're deficient, they're this and that. So if we already have an environment where men intrinsically feel and know that they're not good enough, that they're not loved and not valued, you can't turn around and be surprised when these dudes don't open up to you, because you haven't made it emotionally safe for them. There's nothing about these men that makes it seem like you would even be a person that's willing. They'd be willing to be safe for. They'd be willing to open themselves out for, because men know that this environment it's tough, especially for a man and especially for a Black man. The world can be cruel. The world can be hard. So they have to be very, very calculated about who they open themselves up to, who they are vulnerable with. Because if they're vulnerable with the wrong person, it can mean their life. It can mean their livelihood. And so in one instance, notice how we've created an environment where men are already told that they're deficient for whatever reason. And then these women are mad when they can't emotionally connect with a dude, because the dude don't feel comfortable around you, because your energy is toxic, because your energy pushes them away. They don't feel safe around you. And so if a man doesn't feel safe around you, he is definitely not going to be vulnerable. What's going on, Demetrius? It says her degree is in cellular biology. Can someone tell me what the nuts does that have to do with psychology and sociology? Nothing. But what I'm saying is, I think she started off the first couple of minutes kind of giving her credentials as a way to try to convince the viewers that she has what it takes, that she is basically the authority in this space. That's kind of what I got from her different credentials. And again, it's like, shout out to her for having a good, successful career. That's great. But just because a person has a good, successful career does not necessarily translate to having the tools necessary to be able to maintain a healthy relationship with a man, especially a masculine man. And then all we had to do is fast forward just a minute or two and find that out of the gate, she thinks men are deficient. So if you think the person you're with is deficient, you're not going to respect them. If you don't have respect for the man, he's going to feel that and he's not going to want to open up emotionally. Then it's just a whole downward spiral. Anyways, okay. Let us continue.
Now, if you decide that that's lesbianism, then I'll go with it.
Okay. All right. So to me, a lesbian is a woman who exclusively dates women. I think bisexual is what covers women who date both. I'm not sure what a demisexual is. Is that bisexual? Demisexual? What?
No, no. Demisexual is on the asexual spectrum. So I don't have a sexual attraction to either men or women, neither one of them. It's all mental. So demisexual are individuals who only have a sexual attraction or desire once they have an emotional or strong emotional connection with someone.
To me, that's just femininity. I don't understand how that has to be. And again, I don't know if this is whatever, but women being attracted to somebody because of the emotional connection, that just to me sounds like feminine attraction. I know women out there who fall in love with someone who will be considered ugly or unattractive because he emotionally connects or because he has the swag or just something about him. So I don't understand how that's supposedly a whole entire different sexuality when it's literally been going on since forever. Like, women have always connected with men emotionally, that being an essential component of attraction. That's not like some new modern construct of sexuality. To me, that just sounds like what women do. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Y'all let me know in the comment section. Am I tripping? Am I tripping? Let's continue.
So I have to be strongly emotionally connected to someone. I could be strongly emotionally connected to a man, or I could be strongly emotionally connected to a woman, right? So, and I'm a sapiosexual. I know you heard of sapiosexual.
Yes, because I'm a sapio.
So
I'm a sapio as well.
Right. So you could be.
Everybody and their mama I know that don't get along with men talking about they're sapiosexual, which again, to me, that's just like, oh, you are attracted to people that you can connect with emotionally. Duh. Like, to me, that's just like called being a woman. Okay, but let's continue.
You could be in the presence of a man, right? He could be physically attractive.
Right.
But if he opens his mouth and he's dumb as hell, your sexual desire goes, right? And you have no sex. That's me. I'm always in my head. I'm an Aquarius. So I'm always in my head. So I view the majority of males as unintelligent. Okay. So boom, my sexual attraction is non-existent for them.
She said, I view the majority of males as unintelligent. I view the majority of males as unintelligent. So this is an incredibly interesting conversation, because what we've unpacked up to this point, we're now only about 7 minutes in. I asked the original question, does disliking men make women lesbians? That was my question. Now, again, I don't necessarily have any pure hard data around this. This has just been somewhat of a connection that I found. Now, again, to be clear, I'm not saying this is the case for every lesbian. There are people that I know who were born a particular way, and from their earliest, they just, for whatever reason, believe that they were attracted to the same sex. So I know of those cases, but I'm talking specifically about the cases of women who, for whatever reason, they had attraction to men, or they actually had relationships with men. In her case, she said she was married and had a kid. They had primarily long-term relationships with men, and then they turned lesbian. And what I found with that particular prototype in that situation is that many of the time, those women who have that experience usually come with misandric messaging, usually come with anti-male, male-hating messaging. And what we found up to this point, the 7 minutes of this, I guess, queen maker, right, who she termed herself the lesbian cult leader, literally. What we found is that this is supposedly a woman who was married before. I think, according to some of you guys who followed her, is now divorced, doesn't have a kid, and has a kid, but is basically saying that she is only attracted to women because she found men are intellectually deficient, incapable. They don't have what it takes to connect in a meaningful, healthy way. If that to me is not the definition of misandry, I don't know what is. Because remember, she says now men are intellectually deficient and incapable. But just a few minutes previously, she said, I have the truth. I have the data. I have the analytics. I have the science. I have the psychology. So she literally set up this entire conversation by saying, what I am about to give you is the truth. That's how she set up this conversation. So what is being suggested here is that the truth is that men are intellectually deficient. The truth is that men don't have what it takes to maintain a good relationship. And the best option is women. That's what's being told up to this point. Y'all hear how crazy that is? Let's continue. Okay. Again, guys, like, share, subscribe, show some love on the Cash App, Venmo. Shay Charday, if you like what's going on, again, we are reviewing Does Disliking Men Make Women Lesbians? I started off by going over a viral TikTok video of a woman who went viral for basically talking about her experience or why she is a lesbian. And then she basically said that men are deficient. Now we're going into a more recent conversation that's happened between popular content creator Tiny 2KO and I think rising content creator the Queen Priscilla the Queenmaker, and they're talking about femininity and lesbianism and whether or not that is the best option for women. And what have we found up to this point? That they have come to the topic of lesbianism because of the same conclusion. They believe that men are deficient. So that's what we found up to this point. Let's continue.
And because I have decided that men are incapable of deep emotional connections, spiritual and mental connections, since they're not, I have no compatibility with them on the emotional side. So after my research to understand the difference between men.
Okay, so again, men are deficient. This is what we're going up to this point. They don't have what it takes emotionally. They don't have what it takes psychologically. They don't have what it takes on a soul level. They don't have what it takes on really any meaningful level. They are completely incapable of maintaining any healthy long-term relationship. Then she's going on to say that she has the science to back it up. I'm really curious what peer-reviewed study she has to substantiate her claims. I can say in my own life that all of that is BS. I know women personally who are incredibly toxic, who have screwed up their daughters, who are now in their 40s and 50s in therapy trying to heal from toxic mothers. And I also know of women who have amazing fathers who love them, who are their best friend, who are there for them. I have strong male spiritual leadership that has been foundational to my growth and my understanding and evolving as a spiritual woman, as a Christ follower. Men, I have a husband who does the same thing, right? So in my life, I can't say, just even from an experience standpoint, that men are completely and totally deficient, because if there weren't men in my life, many of the things that I've been able to do or accomplish, I would not have been able to without some of the wisdom and some of the different ways God has used men in my life. So I can't, I can't resonate with that, but let's continue. Okay.
And women biologically and psychologically, I realized that everything that I wanted spiritually, mentally, and emotionally was never going to come from a man. I've tried, I've been married, I've dated these guys, and it just ain't coming from them. And so once I realized that, I was like, well, just because they can't do it, who the hell says I got to go without it?
Oh,
I don't have to go without it.
Y'all heard it? I think she just summed it up right there. She just summed it up right there. She said, she tried it. She figured out everything that she needed emotionally, spiritually, soulishly, whatever. She just couldn't get it from a man. She just couldn't. She tried it, and she couldn't get it. Y'all heard that part? Y'all let me know down in the comment section, because I think right there she just summed up a lot. Now, here's something else I want to bring to your attention. Because sometimes, and I think a lot of times what happens is people, or I'll speak for women, not all women, but some of us, right? We go into relationships trying to make whatever man we have in our life God. Trying to put him into some position where he has to meet our needs. He has to say the right thing all the time. He has to know our moods. He has to kind of meet our needs. Like, we put these men in positions as if they're gods. And then when they show to not be gods and show to be men, then we get mad and upset and we think there's something wrong with them, whatever. And all along, sometimes the issue is that we're putting responsibilities on our men or our husbands that they're not meant to fulfill. There are certain things that only God, the Most High himself, can fulfill. There's an aspect in a woman's soul that only the Lord himself can fulfill. Nobody else. Nobody, not a man, not a career, not a woman, nothing. And if you don't get that, and if you don't know how to get that satisfaction, and if you don't know how to be content from within, then no man is ever going to be able to satisfy you. This is why you can have these lovely ladies out there who get these, NBA stars, or get these good marriages, some of them, and they may even go online and say, man, he was a good man, he was this and that, but I wasn't happy, and irreconcilable differences. And it wasn't because he cheated. It wasn't because he was out there abusing folks. It wasn't because of this and that. Just they just fell out of love, or just because, you know, he didn't hug me enough, or you know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes you go into these relationships not understanding that let a man be man, let a God be God. There's only certain things that God himself can fulfill in a woman. This is why spirituality is so important. This is why I always talk about, ladies, that relationship with God, that relationship with Christ is foundational for your satisfaction long-term, because when you get into situations, if you don't have that, you're going to start projecting into that man or projecting into that woman, projecting into that person, and they will fail you. Trust me, that man will fail you. There's going to be times when your husband or the man in your life or whatever, he's not going to say the right thing. He's not going to be there when he thought he should be there. He's going to mess up. He's going to be tired when you want him to be awake. He's going to, you know what I mean? That's just called the human condition. So this is something that I've learned. And again, women that I know who have been married successfully for a long time have advised me of the same. They've advised me of, look, you know what? I had to recognize that there were certain aspects. I respect my husband. I love my husband. We have fun. But there's just certain places that he can't fulfill. It's not his responsibility to. And it's wrong for me to put that on him. And already that's kind of what I'm getting from the situation. Okay. So shout out to you, Herc Irwin, with the 20. It says, bitter broken birds turned carpet mush. These broads are setting up the new generation of Black women to fail. These women are agents of chaos, degeneracy. This lady represents the fall of Black love in society. Let me say this. She was honest out the gate. She says, I am a stud maker, single mother maker, lesbian cult leader. She's honest. She's not hiding what she's about. She's telling you. So, lovely ladies, you get to decide if those are the results that you want. You get to decide. She's telling you exactly who she is. So if somebody follows her and makes the results that she's recommending, they can't be mad. She's telling you what she's going to teach you how to do. Be a single lady maker, be a stud maker. I mean, she's saying a queen maker, but I'm like, well, what kingdom? What are the coronation rights? What's being managed? What resources? What diplomacy? What political power? Like, I mean, so because I'm like, the being a queen, there's a whole, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. But notice, again, up to this entire point, she started off by saying, I have the truth. I have the background. I have the science. I have the this. I have the truth. So she set up the conversation with that. Then she goes on to say, the truth is men are deficient. I tried it. They're deficient. They're incapable. I tried it. They're deficient. They're incapable. Like, she basically said that. And now she's going and saying, so therefore, I had to turn to women. Y'all hear the programming behind that? All because they just are incapable of emotionally connecting. And I said, what's the foundational lie under that? That men and women emote, that they act, that they behave the same way, and they don't. What's that, like that old saying, men are from Mars, women are from Venus? Like, old folks had a lot more wisdom when it came to this kind of different stuff. Maybe they didn't have all the technology. I know some of us Black folks, we had grandparents who didn't get past the 7th, 8th grade, some of us. But they had more wisdom and more understanding when it comes to these things that we got in this generation, where folks got all the information and all the you know, YouTube and just Google. They have all that. Them old folks sharecropping with 6th grade degrees, just or 6th grade levels, just trying to get a shot at life, had more common sense when it comes to these things than we got today. Let me continue.
Oh my. Okay. So, okay. Oh my goodness. There's so much. You know what? Listen.
Don't let your head go on, Tanya. Let your head spin for a second.
Okay. Listen. I need to go back to let's go back to the root. Let's go back to the root. All right. Number one, you said that your background was in molecular biology. What does that mean?
Cell and molecular biology? Okay.
What is, y'all, question? Let me know in the comment section. What does molecular biology have to do with relationships? What does that have to do with maintaining a healthy marriage long-term or a healthy relationship long-term? Can y'all tell me in the comment section? If I'm missing something, perhaps I'm missing something, please let me know. Okay, guys, I need 20 more likes and then we'll continue. I'm going to go on a quick break, y'all. Hit that like button, like, share, subscribe, show support to the show if you like what we're doing here. Be sure to support your favorite content creators. I need to get at least 20 more likes in here. Okay. I need just a few more likes, people. Just a few more likes. And then we are done. I'm going to go on another quick break, and then we go. Okay. All right. So we are going over again interview between Tanya TKO and Queen Maker Princella. They're talking about why lesbianism is the way for Black women who want to save themselves. Again, foundational to this conversation is that what I found up to this point is that men are deficient. Men are deficient. And we started off this conversation by asking whether or not disliking men can cause women to be lesbians. Now, again, this is distinctive from women who some people were born and their earliest attraction was to the same sex. I know people like that. So that's distinctive from that group. We're talking about women who had relationships with men, tried it time and time again, and then for whatever reason later on decided to become lesbians. She talked about it up to this point. She talked about how her, she had relationships early on, she was married, different things, and she figured out men were incapable of having a strong emotional connection. Another thing that I would like to mention is, to me, like, where's the self-reflection? Because anytime there's a failed relationship, a relationship is of two people. So even if the other person did something wrong, God forbid they did something heinous, like they cheated or they lied or whatever, even if that happened, I think someone who was honest with themselves could also know that there was probably some areas in themselves where they did something wrong, or where maybe they were not up to par, because we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all have our flaws. We all have those areas where we could do better. And so usually when I hear of any situation or somebody talking about they had failed relationships and failed this and that, and it's all the other person's fault, and there wasn't one thing that they did or did wrong or could have done wrong, I always look at that suspiciously, because I think honest people are going to be self-reflective and understand that they have good qualities and they have some bad qualities. They have some areas of weakness that they can change. So when I hear I can't get along with men because they're incapable of having relationships, I'm thinking, where is the self-reflection? Where is the ability to be like, okay, maybe he is emotionally shut down, but is there something inside of me that's causing him to be emotionally shut down? Or am I emotionally shut down? Or am I triggered? Or am I controlling? Or am I this? You know what I mean? Like, where is the self-reflection to be like, okay, what's going on in me? Because relationships are usually reflective. Water seeks its own level. And so in every relationship, good and bad ones, they can usually be reflections of maybe areas where we're doing really strong or areas where we can improve. But if you get out of a relationship and there is no self-reflection, I don't think that's healthy, because it doesn't give you lose the ability to grow. You lose the lesson out of that relationship. And I think that's a loss. Okay, let us continue on this interview.
So there are multiple sciences, there are multiple disciplines when it comes to these sciences. So when we're talking about molecular and cellular biology, it's solely rooted in, molecules, right? When you get into the organic chemistry component and how these molecules operate in the cells, the functions of the cell. So that's the concentration. So the whole point of biology, when we talk about biology, it's about the foundations of life. So biology 101, this is why it's important. It tells you the 5 characteristics to determine if an organism is a living organism, right? So with these 5 characteristics, everything builds around this concept, okay? So I have incorporated the understanding of science. Why? Because science is rooted in analysis. It's rooted in studying the nature and the behavior of the planet and things around you without human manipulation, right? So it's based on observation and fact, right? So I've taken my training in science to incorporate in my analysis of human behavior.
Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry. What's going on, Better You? Molecular sex. You guys. I think she's trying to describe the science behind understanding human behavior, but that's literally what sociology is. Yeah, am I tripping? I'm like, what she just described is sociology, not a molecular biologist. Now, granted, I'm not in the sciences deep like that. So if any of you guys who are in, who are actually in college or in the sciences or whatever, y'all let me know in the comment section. But what she just described to me was sociology, not molecular biology. That's what she essentially just is trying to describe. Molecular I have to wonder already out the gate. I'm assuming that a lot of the lovely ladies in the podcast maybe haven't had the opportunity to go to college or achieve higher education. Because if you have, then you're probably listening to that and you're like, that's a whole bunch of BS. That's a whole bunch of word salad to basically say, actually, what I do doesn't really connect, but I'm trying to make it connect. I mean, that's just the way I'm reading it. Okay, let's continue. So we got molecular misandry. That's hilarious.
And the difference between the sexes, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's expound upon that. So you say your background. Do you have a degree in this? Did you work in it? Were you a scientist in a lab? Okay.
Well, okay. So I went to school and I'm only 18 hours away of actually getting a bachelor's in cell and molecular biology. So I only basically have one semester left.
She ain't even finished college, y'all. She's over here doing deep sociological, scientific breakdowns of the Black human relational existence, and she don't even have her bachelor's yet. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. She hated the guy. I'm so dead. I'm so dead. I need my soundboard. I need my soundboard. She ain't even got her degree. Oh my God. Oh, I gotta look.
That's weird.
Oh my gosh. No, she doesn't even have her degree. Oh my gosh. So this whole, because she was leading with her background. She don't even got her bachelor's. And again, there's no shade if you don't have your college degree or no bachelor's. Like, I'm not saying there's no shade, but then don't lead with it. Like, don't put yourself on a pedestal as having all this higher education when you don't. Like, but okay, see, now this is going back to, I think we're also kind of maybe getting an understanding of followers enter the female psyche. Y'all remember when I said earlier on this live, they don't care about degrees like that. Or not degrees, I don't care about science data like that. Not when it comes to matters of the heart. Analytics don't matter. It's about kind of what you feel, and it's about connecting with experiences and like experiences and like experience. Like, that's how women communicate. That's how we move. So all I think of the degrees, I think that's kind of word salad to perhaps try to help create herself as like an expert. It's like, oh, she's an expert, so I can't question her. Oh, she's the expert, so I'm not going to, because she really knows, because she has all these things that I don't. So it's a way to try to, make herself as grandiose and the leader, so that these women either follow her advice or don't question her advice or whatever. But it's not because a woman necessarily care about the true scientific data as much as it is. It's just now here's somebody that is feeding into my narrative. Because if it was truly about the data, then I'm like, let's see if she provides some sources. Okay, let's continue. Again, guys, like, share, subscribe, show some love on Cash App or Venmo or Super Chat. If you like what's going on here, if you like this content, if you like what I'm doing, be sure to support your favorite content creators. That is the best way that you can share that the message that you like is getting out there. Okay. Shout out to you, Game Dreamer with the 7. This is, yeah, thank you for the 7. Oh, and I also see that you sent through a 10 yesterday. I'm just now seeing that. Thank you, Game Dreamer. Appreciate it. Okay, let's continue.
Finish that. So in that, you're in the lab. You cannot get a degree or even have that many hours without being in the laboratory. So I have separated proteins, right? I've used the centrifuge. I've done the calculations. I've been in the study. So it's not the field that I chose to stay in. However, I have gained the perspective and the actual hands-on.
Wait, she said she didn't even stay in the field. So then what field is she in? And this is now actually where I would be curious to talk to some sociologists. Because like I said, the book that I referenced a lot, The Dating Divide, it took them years of study, multiple people, to come to conclusions about dating patterns. Years of study among multiple different people were involved. And these are professors. These are people who have higher, not just bachelors, probably some of them masters and doctorates. And so these are highly educated people who spent years upon years doing research to come to just some core conclusions about dating. So I'm like, without a degree, without a team of people dedicated to you, without even the focus on the right area of sociology or something similar, you somehow cracked the code on all this stuff without the resources. Like, it just, to me, it does not make sense. So this is what you get from the University of Mari. She reminds me of my cafeteria lady in elementary school. Oh, her look. Oh man. When she said she spent the first 6-7 minutes talking about all the science and the data, and then said that she ain't got a degree, I'm like, I'm dead. I'm can end this thing right now. That had me dead.
Things that I needed to do to understand how to analyze things in the scientific world. So
Okay.
I've taken that knowledge that I've acquired and I never lost it. I took it into new fields. So going from cell and molecular biology, I also then transitioned into leadership in the military. So now I have a background of understanding not only how to lead myself and how to lead others, but now I can see what characteristics are required for a person to be a leader. So I have to possess these, and then I have to analyze other people and say, do they have the characteristics, the traits, or the qualities to possess leadership skills within them?
So she went to the military. Interesting. Any of you guys in the military, salute to the service. Any of you guys who have been in the military, can you guys, in your experience, can you let me know whether or not you believe that being in the military helps you be successful and teaches you how to maintain healthy relationships and lead? I don't know. You guys let me know, because I've not been in the military, so I don't want to come to any conclusions, but curious if you guys.
Why is that important, Tanya?
Yeah.
That's important because the narrative that's being pushed out in male and female relationships is that men are supposed to be the leaders, that they're the natural leaders, the providers and protectors. But when you look out into the world,
that's because that's what women want. Tell me of a situation where women are happy paying all the bills and protecting and providing. Tell me of a situation where women are happy to be the ones going and taking out the garbage, mowing the lawn, the sewer breaks down, they're going down and dealing with the sewage. Car breaks down, they're handling that, putting themselves in dangerous situations. Power plants, water plant. Tell me of a situation where women are volunteering to put themselves in danger's way in wide scale. We can all point to anomalies, maybe cousins, maybe sisters, whatever, but wide scale. Tell me situations where women are trying to protect men. There's a threat of danger. They're stepping in front of the men and they're taking the first blow. Bills need to be paid. They're looking for extra jobs. so that their man can be at home, can be taken care of and raise the kids. Please tell me situations where women, by and large, are campaigning for that. Or have we heard protect Black women? Have we heard where are all the good men? Have we heard these dudes are dusties? They need to pay. That's what I'm saying. So she's like, oh, it's being said that men need to lead. It's like women want men to lead. That's what they want. That's why they're over here complaining that Black, they don't feel, they don't listen to this or that. It's all because they say they want this leadership. You see what I'm saying? Okay.
You see nothing but chaos.
Right.
Well, I see that there is a problem. There is a problem because women, one, do not know men, and two, they don't even know leadership. So women are not being able to make good choices in men because they're being led on total ignorance. They're blind. They don't know what leadership is, and they don't know what who men are. So because of this, Tanya, and my life experiences and what I have acquired and what I've gone through learning these lessons through the School of Hard Knocks and formal education.
Y'all heard that? School of Hard Knocks and formal education. I think, and Mr. Obsidian, he alluded to this, where he was like, I think going back to what you can connect to, a lot of women can connect to the broken experiences, the broken homes, the divorce situation, or the baby daddy that's not there or whatever. They can connect with the brokenness and they can connect with the hard knock life. So that's why they're going to be more inclined to follow somebody who emulates that and is trying to position it like, hey, I have this hard life, but I'm still making it. Because that's actually a lot more relatable than a woman up here like me talking about, okay, you can find a lovely God-fearing man and submission is actually good. Submission is okay. And it's okay to be feminine and it's okay to work. Like, she's going to be more relatable to a lot of lovely ladies than maybe somebody like me who's married, right? When one out of four Black women currently are married. And so that's what I'm saying. All the science and all the degrees and all of the supposed experience she has, that's just word salad, in my opinion, to try to position herself as more of a leader in this area. But really, women aren't necessarily caring about the science and the data. They're caring about, can they connect emotionally? Is she relatable in some capacity? And then the bigger point here, we're kind of seeing the misandry. She kind of went in a whole explanation as to her degree and how that makes her qualified. But let's just keep on going. I'm sure there's some more misandry that's going to slip out. Okay.
I am a humanitarian before I'm anything.
Okay.
And when I look online and I see women constantly crying, women being confused, and all of these stories I keep hearing about how men doing these women, I'm looking at these sad posts for years in the marriage club.
Yeah.
I have the answer to why women are experiencing the discordance that they're experiencing in these relationships.
She said, I have the answer. I have the answer. I have the answer. Oh man, like this lady is something else. She's like, I have what it takes. I have the answer. Listen to me, follow me. I'll show you how to be a queen. Oh, that's kind of crazy. That gives me shivers. Okay, I gotta go back. I gotta go back.
Leadership. So women are not being able to make good choices in men because they're being led on total ignorance. They're blind. They don't know what leadership is, and they don't know who men are. So because of this, Tanya, and my life experiences and what I have acquired and what I've gone through learning these lessons through the School of Hard Knocks and formal education, I am a humanitarian before I'm anything.
Okay.
And when I look online and I see women constantly crying, women being confused, and all of these stories I keep hearing about how men doing these women, and
how women doing these women. I told y'all, which relationships, by data, not by my feelings, not because I didn't seen a couple of videos or articles on relationships. Which relationships, by and large, tend to be the most aggressive, tend to have the highest rates of interpersonal violence, intimate partner violence, DV. Which ones? You already know the answer to this. We've already talked about it multiple times. Women to women. So for all this, men are doing women dirty and men are the problem. Why is it that when some of these women turn to other women, the problem still exists? Why is it? If it was all about men, if men were the problem, and you therefore move the problem from the equation, why is it that when the problem is removed from the equation, the problem still exists? We already know the answer. Because these ladies aren't dealing with the problem. You're not dealing with it. If your conclusions are based upon hatred towards something that God made, and if it is based upon an inability to learn how to get along in a healthy relationship with 50% of the human population, by and large, clearly there's something going on there. Clearly there's an area of opportunity. Clearly. And why can't we just admit that? Why can't we just say, look, some of us don't know how to get along with men. We don't understand them. They confuse us. Maybe there's some daddy issues or some boyfriend issues or some baby dad, whatever. But instead of admitting, I don't know how to do this. I don't understand how men work. I don't understand. Or maybe I have trust issues because my heart was broken when I was a little girl. My dad abandoned me. Or he wasn't there or this. And so now, therefore, in a relationship, I'm scared of being abandoned. So I push them away. Like, this is the real emotional, psychological stuff that really actually weighs on women. And we sometimes we carry those traumas when we're young. We already have that chip on our shoulder. We look at our mom and she had bad relationships, or our auntie or our grandma who grew up and she had bad relationships with men, so she don't have no good advice. And then we take all that brokenness and then we attempt to have healthy relationship with men, but we don't know how to because we're broken or because we have trust issues, we have spiritual issues or whatever. And then that blows up because of all that other garbage and chaos. And then now it's men's fault. Instead of recognizing all of the other dynamics that were there, be it spiritual, emotional, trauma, PTSD, all of the above, instead of addressing all of those other components, it's just men's fault. But as I said before, if that was the case, then anytime women were in a relationship with women, there would be no chaos. There would be no drama. There would be no back and forth. None of that would exist. But we already know by and large, when women are in relationship with women, there tends to be higher rates of interpersonal violence. And so clearly, we can see that it's not just the men's fault. And it's not just men who are being violent and aggressive and have problems communicating. Okay, let us see. I had 2 super chats come through. Thank you, Better You with the 10. It says they working backwards from their conclusion. This a low effort attempt to intellectualize from Misandry. If she want to switch spots, that's cool. I'm ready for my soft boy era and to be kept man. I'm mad at you for the soft boy era. How many of y'all are ready for y'all soft boy era? That's hilarious. I need to get my soundboard, y'all. Okay, Priscilla Clark, aka Prince Fella. What do you call it, Prince Fella? Is promoting some gender relationships with the DV rate is 43% for lesbians as opposed to 35% for heterosexual. She's fighting against nature, a fight she cannot win. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I even think I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but I even think for gay men that the relationships actually aren't as violent. I literally think it's female to female is some of the highest. I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers on that. But to your point, yes, again, the math just isn't really math because the men were the problem. And anytime men aren't there, then you would assume that all of the problems that men bring wouldn't be there. The inability to connect, aggression, DV, intimate partner violence, but we clearly see that that's still there. Shout out to you, Salty Balls with the 5. It says they prey on people with using trauma bonding, fear, lies of control, so she can get the peaches. You're absolutely right. I definitely think that's what's going on here. Women can relate. They can relate to the school of hard knocks. Many of them can. They can relate to broken families, broken homes. They can. So all the other stuff, the science, the data, the molecular biology, truthfully, that's just some fluff that makes women feel like, oh, okay, well, she must have what I don't have. So that makes her even more believable. But women, they don't really care about the degrees as much. It's more about her being relatable. And she comes off as incredibly confident. She literally said, I have the answer. She says, I have the answer. Me, I have the truth. She said that multiple times. wild. Wild to me. I'm like, what? You're acting like you're God. Only the Most High has all the answers. No, nobody should put themselves in that position. Nobody. Not me. Nobody. The Most High, God and God alone, is the only one that has all the answers. And just food for thought. If you listen to somebody that says, follow me, I have all the answers, I have what it takes, I'm like, be very suspicious. Very suspicious. Because if you're not seeing any vulnerability, if you're not seeing any sense of self-reflection, saying, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. If they're ultimately not pointing you to the only source, the only power who can help you in every situation in life, the Most High, God himself, the power of Christ, if that's not happening, then I would be very, 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 very leery. I'm not following anybody that says, I have all the answers. I'm like, you ain't God. You did not sacrifice your life for me. I don't know you from Adam. You probably don't even like me certain times of the day. You know what I mean? So like, me personally, I couldn't do it. I can't be with somebody who's like, or I personally probably would not follow someone who's like, oh, I have everything. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Let's continue.
Looking at these sad posts for years in the marriage club.
Yeah.
I have the answer to why women are experiencing the discordance that they're experiencing in these relationships. And I can do one or two things. I can keep this knowledge to myself and sit back and watch people be in pain, or I can provide them the answer and give them freedom of choice. Give them freedom of choice through informed decision making.
Okay.
She says, I have the answer. Whew, that just gives the chills on my back. I'm like, I have the like I said, you are not God. You may have wisdom. I have things that I offer. I try to give people, here's the facts, here's the data, do with it what you want. I can't tell you how to live your life. I'm not God. But I have the key to life.
Well, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me put a little applause on that. All right. So follow-up question. You said that you've done a lot of research. Tell us about some of this research. Some of us are just meeting you for the first time. Others know you, but some may not know your scientific process or the research that you've done.
I don't care about the scientific process.
Okay. So when you're doing research, first and foremost, you have to always go through credible sources. And when you use statistical analysis, it's always about getting a sample, a population size, and being able to dig deep into what it is that you're trying to analyze. And so when you take a sample population, it's just an indicator, all right, of what may be going on over a bigger scale. So the easiest way to talk about statistics is use a coin, right?
Okay.
Heads, tails. If you flip the coin 10 times, right, it may land on heads like 7 times and tails 3 times, right? But that's only because you flipped it 10 times. But the more you flip it, the closer it will get to its actual depiction of a 50-50 relationship, because you can flip it and it end up on heads 50% of the time, tails 50% of the time, because it's one coin with 2 sides, right? But to get a more accurate depiction of the population, you have to flip it enough times. So if you flip it 10 times, it could come 7 out of 10. But if you flip it 1,000 times, it's going to look more close to 50-50. So you have to get a big enough sample size, right, to be able to analyze what it is that you're trying to analyze. So
that was just a whole bunch of different way of saying basically peer-reviewed studies, right? Peer-reviewed studies, which I agree. You do want peer-reviewed studies, or when you're looking at analytics or whatever, you want to look at the sample size. You want to look at the different references. You want to look at the methodology. That is true in and of itself. So that was just a long way, I guess, of her explaining it. For those of you guys in the comment section who are like really confused.
Look at society. I need to make sure that I get credible research to back up my claims if I'm going to say something. So the credible sources that I go to is I go to the government's website where all of the research papers are held, peer-reviewed studies. All right. And this is the National Library of Medicine. I don't let nothing come out of my mouth that I cannot substantiate through peer-reviewed research. Right.
Well, I mean, she hasn't provided any sources yet or at all. I don't know if she will. I don't know if you guys have ever seen her provide sources. Yeah.
And this is important that this is done because you do not want to add your own junk into what you're saying, because the Manosphere has a habit of doing that. They do not substantiate any of their claims through any peer-reviewed research. They're just talking out of emotion. And one of the things in
Okay, so I know some of y'all are not fans of the Manosphere and some of y'all are. What I can say in my experience, having had different conversations with people from the Manosphere, is that is a bold-faced lie. This Queenmaker, Princella, the Queenmaker herself, who is on the way to getting a bachelor's, hasn't even got it yet, and is talking about peer-reviewed studies and how she has the answer. The Manosphere is filled with PhDs, men who have gotten bachelors and masters and doctorates. You think of Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, I think Green Gorilla, both PhDs, doctors, who actually bring up multiple studies, are themselves professors, are themselves leaders in the space, not just rhetorically, but actually have done the research empirically. So this lovely lady, again, who doesn't even have a bachelor's, is saying that she has the right information and more information than men in the Manosphere who have their doctorates, who are teaching adults who have actually done studies themselves, engaged in studies themselves, and reviewed studies. Like it does Jordan Peterson. Yeah, you said Jordan Peterson. So that's actually, that was just a bold-faced lie, because that's not true. If you look at maybe some of them random channels out there with 2 followers, but even then, like, the Manosphere doesn't even necessarily fully acknowledge that. But we do know that there are thought leaders, professors, professionals in this space with clear empirical data and analysis and all of that, with the degrees, not bachelors in the making, no shade to her, right? But not bachelors in the making, I'm just a semester away. No, they got their doctorates and they're teaching, or they're writing books that are being written and sold and being mentioned in mainstream media. You know what I mean? So that is just a bold-faced lie. That's just a bold-faced lie. The Manosphere is not just about rhetoric. There are places, obviously, where people traffic in rhetoric, or there are places, obviously, where people are just angry. That happens. That's just the free market of the internet. But the core of some of the arguments are obviously substantial. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. She wouldn't have brought it up. They wouldn't be trying to counteract it. You know what I mean? Yeah, right there. Licensed professionals. Anyways, okay, I think we're getting somewhere here.
In the public is that women are emotional and men are more logical. That narrative has to be destroyed. And it's so easy for women to destroy it because the truth is on women's side. The truth is not on men's side. The truth is on the side of the female.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. No, it's not. The truth is neither male or female. It's neither male or female. The truth is neither male. I'm sorry. I don't know. Something about that smile to me is it's so funny right there. But she said the truth is on the female side. No, it's not. No, it's not. Nope. I don't agree with that. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. It's neither male or female. The spirit of truth. It is a spirit. Facts are facts. When you're talking about facts, facts are not, they're amoral. They're not gendered. It's, this happened. It's, today is Friday. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's, I live in California. That's a fact. You know what I mean? That's not a, oh, this is a female. The truth is on my side because I'm a female. No, it's not. There are females who are out of pocket. Let's look at Brittany Renner, for example. She was out of pocket. Hang on, ain't no truth there. She was clearly in some state. She was somewhere way over there in left field. Her emotions, her psychological state, her emotional state was way over there, far disconnected from truth. So no, the truth is not on female side. No, you don't have all the answers. She is not God. Women aren't God. And for all this BS about women being the queen, mother goddesses, I'm just like, what about any of the present behavior that we see being reflected from the modern Black woman speaks to divinity? What about it? What about twerking on babies? Every 15 seconds, I'm seeing these ratchet rappers being promoted. Ratchet rappers doing the most disgusting things being promoted. I already talked about twerking on babies, twerking at Walmart, twerking on gas stations, twerking on themselves, disrespecting themselves, talking about their private parts every 15 seconds. Like you don't have any other aspect of yourself. Nobody wants to, like, we don't all want to know how you respond in sex. That's all they can talk about is how they respond in sex. Like they have no other aspect of their identity. It's all about sex. It's all about how they look. It's all about what they can do. What about that is divine? Nothing. So this hyper focus to try to put women on a pedestal when there are clear reflections of a rebellious spirit is evil and demonic. As I mentioned before, she is not God. Anybody who's going to sit there and tell you that I have the answer and not point you to the Most High, not point you to the Spirit of truth, not point you to God, to Christ, I'm a Christ follower, not pointing you to the Spirit, pointing you to the most ultimate being. If they're not doing that, then they're fooling you. And you can't sit here and say, just because you got some men that you're, and because you're a woman, the truth is on your side, especially when you're going around acting like a fool and your life is in shambles and everybody knows it, including you, which is why you got to go on YouTube to look at people to lie to you, because you want somebody to try to make you feel better because you don't feel good about yourself, because you are experiencing the results of your own actions, and it's not good and it's not healthy. This is why I tell people, don't get it twisted. Don't get caught up and think, oh, because I'm melanin and I what's the EG and all this different stuff. All these reasons, all these things that women try to do to put themselves on a pedestal so they cannot look in the mirror and see their sins and see their nakedness and their wickedness staring at them in the mirror. All of this mirage, all of these different things to try to get them from being accountable, it gets in the way of true healing. And this isn't helping. A person now coming in and acting like they're the truth. We don't even know. We don't even know. Like, all we know is what she said. None of it can be verified. All we know is what she said. And she's over here trying to put herself over the manosphere and don't even got a doctorate. Don't even got a bachelor's. Trying to act like she has the answers and the science and the proof. And it's like, honey, you don't even got your bachelor's yet. You still got to get the hours necessary. You're coming against professors and real professionals who have actually written books about this stuff, who have done seminars, who are teaching classes about this stuff. It's not a game. But I think the only reason this stuff can go on is because you do have, like I said, women out there who are trauma. They are broken. They are brokenhearted. They can connect with brokenness, so they can connect with failed relationships or failure. And these kinds of scenarios, telling them it's not your fault, telling them it's man's fault, can kind of be soothing to the soul. It can kind of make you feel a little bit vindicated. Now, it doesn't necessarily help you. It doesn't necessarily help the situation, but it may make you feel good. But again, the problem is, if the problem is you, if the real problem in that scenario is you, and maybe your trauma and your pain or whatever you're not dealing with, or your broken sin nature, or whatever it is that you're doing, if that's your problem, then all the word salad and trying to be a queen and acting like a queen and dressing like a queen and doing your feminine energy today and your masculine energy the other day, none of that is going to matter because you haven't got to the root cause. It ain't about it's not the molecular biology. It's not the masculine cells and the female cells or whatever cells that is being studied. That has nothing to do with having a broken, traumatized spirit. Nothing. It's just word salad. It's just word salad. Again, guys, like, share, subscribe. Let's see. The blind leading the blind. Scientific method is based on proving the hypothesis wrong, not trying to. Right. That's how I was like, somebody in here is maybe actually be a molecular biologist, or somebody in here is in the sciences, has graduated from the sciences, and can help clarify whether or not molecular biology has anything to do with maintaining healthy relationships and being a queen. Somebody in the comments can tell me what's going on, Belle. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Said she marketed the lost bound. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we are getting somewhere with this. We are getting somewhere with this. Bear with me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with applause. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. It's cool, Tanya. Thank you. But the truth is on the side of the woman. So it's real easy to go and get peer-reviewed research papers that back up the claims to support women.
Let's get them peer-reviewed. Let's see if she sources the peer-reviewed information. I'm looking right now in the descriptions and I don't see any of the sources. I don't see any links to the sources. But all these peer-reviewed data that somehow verifies that men are inherently deficient and men are inherently incapable of doing anything meaningful. I'm really curious what peer-reviewed research is being backed up by the government and the educational system is standing behind that. Fundamentally, because I'm like, okay, source. Can you tell me at least one source? At least one source.
But the scientists know this. Everybody knows this who are running the globe. So there has been a concerted effort.
How would she? Is she running the globe? Like how would you know what the oligarchy is doing
to keep women out of the knowledge of science, math, occult wisdom, to keep and sell them fantasies so that men's delusion can continue to be supported.
So is this on maybe we're on the tarot card terrorism. We might be on that. Okay. I don't know if she's in the tarot stuff, but I'm like, I covered that off a while back, the tarot card terrorism, where it's like you starting to have the lovely ladies turning to alternative spirituality, not even necessarily because they really, I think, desire spirituality as much as they desire domination over men. And they want to distance themselves from any kind of spirituality that includes masculinity. I've seen this exclusively from lovely ladies who grew up in Christian churches. And I get it. Like I said, I understand that I've had my own church hurt experiences. I understand there's a very dark history that is associated with Christendom. And I always like to distinguish that from the true gospel, which is about liberation, which is about spiritual transformation and truly living out your fullness. So I always like to distinguish that. But for those lovely ladies who actually had church hurt scenarios, who don't like men, I notice how I always see them kind of turning and dabbling with kind of the tarot card terrorism or sage or just forms of alternative spirituality. And it's not even necessarily because they want to be spiritual. Again, as much as it is, they want to have control and domination over men. And they want to seek spiritual experiences that don't include masculinity. And when she mentioned that, she was like, oh, the occult, they're keeping them out of the occult, the scientists. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I wasn't catching that. Yeah, witchcraft. Witchcraft. That's what's going on here. Now it makes sense. That's that spirit I'm picking up on. But she's like, I have the answer. I'm like, what? That's what Lucifer said. What? What you mean you got the answer? Who are you? I was like, what? Now I'm starting to get it. There's this passage that talks about doctrines of demons literally being promoted. I'd have to go and find. I have to see if I can find it because that's actually talked about in the wisdom text. But it talks about this idea of doctrines of demons, which is it's knowledge. It's knowledge that exists, but it's knowledge that comes from a dark realm, and it is antithetical to the spirit of truth, and it is antithetical to not only the spirit of God, but the ways of God and how the universe was created and how to make. So a doctrine of demon would say men aren't needed. Men aren't essential. Men are efficient. It would basically look to question the very thing that the Most High said was good. God looked at man and said, it is good. The Most High said that. He looked and said, this creation, this here that I made, it is good. That's what the Most High said. And he gave them a function, and he gave them authority, and he gave them wisdom, and he gave them leadership and a mantle. The Most High said that. So anything that comes along and then now tries to question the power of the Creator, it's knowledge, but it's knowledge from another place. It's against the Creator. It's against the good one. Okay, so that's okay. So I think we're almost done. That's kind of crazy, y'all. That's like heebie-jeebie stuff. That's some heebie-jeebie stuff. Okay, let me continue. We're almost. I think
because when you tell a man the truth, it doesn't matter if you tell him his dick little. It doesn't matter if you tell him that he's broke. You cannot tell the man the truth about anything because he will come undone. Why is that? Why is the male's ego so fragile? There is a scientific reason for it.
Oh, I lost my screen. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Consuela. I lost my screen for some reason. Let me get you back up here. Sorry. Go ahead. What's the scientific reason that men become undone when they're confronted?
Okay, so men's egos are very, very fragile because men will tell you this out of their own mouths. It's not something that I'm making up. All women have to do is pay attention and listen to men with the right ears.
I don't disagree that men have egos too. Certain men have egos. Women have egos too. Women definitely have egos. Our egos come out differently, but we all have areas of sensitivity. That's not surprising to me. It's called being a human being. But let me continue.
Have you heard men say, our past don't matter as a man? Y'all past matter more as a woman. You know why? Because women are born with value. Women have to preserve their value. So this is the reason why her past matters. This is the reason why we need to know how many bodies you got, right?
Also, real quick, yes, on this point, women today definitely have egos. Can't nobody tell nobody the truth without being offensive. I have experienced this multiple times. I just sit out there and just say, just a statistical fact. I'm not even coming to any conclusions about it. I'm not even making any judgments. I'm just saying, this is what's going on, period. And the amount of hate and the amount of pick-me's, mammies, you this, you that, fill in the blank, just because I stated a statistical fact. If 1 out of 4 Black women get married, that's a fact. I'm not a pick-me or a mammy, or I don't hate my mama or hate women or whatever just because I say, look, 1 out of 4 of y'all are likely to get married at the current state, and it's could be going down. You know what I mean? So it's like we have scores and scores of evidence. Let's go back to the Brittany Renner situation. They asked her, there weren't even judgments made. They asked her a simple question. Everybody there was really calm. And she got upset. She got belligerent. She got violent over a question. We have countless examples of women with ego who, when faced with not even the full truth, like an ounce of the truth or an ounce of any self-reflection, push back aggressively. So, ego exists, but let's not act like women don't have it too. Let's not act like women don't have ego too. Clearly, we know they do. That's crazy. Okay.
We need to know your past because we need to know that you preserve value. We, on the other hand, our past doesn't matter as men because we're born with no value. We have to build value. And we don't get, our value don't come until around 30 or 35 or 40. Men will tell you that they're born at the wall.
Wait, what
but women don't hear that. They born at the wall. They say women hit the wall. So that means you come out the womb running, right? Like the rabbit. And then when you get to a certain age, you just hum into a brick wall where men don't want you no more. That's the rationale, right? That's not coming from me. That's coming from men letting you know their struggle as a man. We are born with no value. We have to build value. The average male struggles to build this value. And so they depend on women to get their value built. Men heavily depend on women because they are codependent by nature. So when you get down into the biology of the difference between men and women, what you're going to find out is something called sexual conflict. Sexual conflict, let me explain that. This manosphere red pill and this thing that men and women going back and forth with each other. Y'all know that is what? The gender war, right?
Okay.
They know that is the gender war. And they think that the gender war is some manufactured thing from the elites. The gender war, the black woman against the black man and all that. We heard it. But what people do not understand is that when you get down into the biology of the XX and the XY chromosomes, what you're going to find is what is called sexual conflict, where male and female sexual purposes differ. They are in opposition of each other, right?
I don't make no. I don't even have to be. You're like, wait, what? I don't even have to be a scientist to know that don't make no sense, because you need male. We literally depend upon the male and the female gender coming together to survive. So how is something that is essential to survival in opposition? That actually makes absolute zero sense to me. How is something, again, that is essential to survival? How is that in opposition? I am so freaking confused. Okay, I think they're about to go on a break soon. And then if I have a few minutes, I'll open up the call lines for any of you guys who want to weigh in or maybe finish the rest of this with me. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So women produce offspring by quality. It's quality over quantity for the female.
Right. And for men, it's quantity. Right.
It's quantity, right?
And wife, yes.
Absolutely. And so the earliest species on planet Earth were female. Female is the biological norm. And the earliest species of female copied themselves asexually, right? And so basically making clones of themselves, reproducing more exact copies. Well, in changing environments, you need genetic variation to ensure survival. So later on down the line, males were produced, okay, to carry extra genes for those environmental changes, okay? When women have daughters, women pass down mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA is only passed down from mother to daughter. And women are born with all of the eggs that they will ever use. And within those eggs, if those eggs are girl babies, the eggs are perpetual. They have an eternal line. It's an eternal line that never ends. However, when the male reproduces himself, he cannot exist unless he passes down a Y chromosome, and he can only pass that Y chromosome down if he copulates with a female. He cannot do it on his own, which puts the male in a perpetual state of scarcity and survival, because male fetuses are more fragile in the womb than females. Male sperm is more fragile. So from conception into the grave, the male is fighting to survive. So when he gets here on planet Earth, after going through all of the obstetric issues that he can face in utero, he comes out and has more issues with survival. So
I don't think anything she said made any sense to me. I don't think what she said made no sense to me at all. She was talking about asexual, like, first of all, humans aren't asexual, so you're not reproducing yourself. I know they're trying to clone and stuff, but like, we're not clones. And as I mentioned before, the female gender and the male gender are clearly need to come together for survival of the human species. This has been clearly established since the beginning of humanity. So all this other word salad about somehow all of a sudden in this modern era, those genders are now antithetical and the female species is better. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, okay, I think we've done pretty well as far as some of the different things that we've covered up to this point. Going back to the original question, does disliking men make women lesbians? She's basically spent the last 20 minutes trying to argue against nature and science. Everything from actually men and women don't need to be together. Actually, their genders actually are antithetical and at opposition to men are inherently deficient scientifically, socially, psychologically. I have the peer-reviewed data to prove that men are efficient. To women have the truth. The truth is on women's side. It's not on men's side, it's on women's side. Do you guys see how insane this is? literally insane. This is quite literally insane. Insane. And notice, as I mentioned before, no self-reflection. She mentioned failed relationships. She mentioned relationships with men that did not work out. Not once did I hear her say, maybe I was a little broken here. This happened, that happened. I was shut down. I chose wrong because of this. There was no mention of any area where potentially she did something wrong. It was just because men are deficient. The reason the marriage didn't work out, the reason her previous partnerships did not work out was because of the men. No accountability. So, as I mentioned before, in this modern setup, in this current cultural climate, where you have people going around who are clearly traumatized, past experiences, generational issues, broken families, back to back to back to back in their family. They go and have a bad relationship or two. Maybe they get knocked up, maybe whatever. And they're already in a society where there's so much misandry that goes unchecked. It's not impossible for me to see or to understand why some women who actually are attracted to men, who physically are attracted to men, who are sexually attracted to men, why they would turn to lesbianism. We see prime example right here. I mean, she's literally breaking it down. She's writing all these complicated words, but she's literally breaking down, I think, what we've all seen to be true in some instances. And again, I'm making this distinction from those women. There are some women who were born and they've always had attraction to the same sex. So I'm making a distinction from those women to the women that I'm talking about today who've had all these experiences with men previously and are turning to this, are being influenced to this because they're believing these lies. And you know what? She said she's military. Maybe her time in the military really taught her how to recruit. I'm seeing that in here because I'm definitely getting, like I said, she started with the I'm this, I'm that, I'm not, follow me. And she seemed definitely something she is recruiting. Okay, so I'm going to continue this a little bit more. I think she's almost done with the word fallacy.
Psychology is hardwired for survival, where women's psychology is more about existing in abundance.
Oh,
you have. Go ahead.
That's our reminder to take a break.
Okay.
So
before they go on a break. So, that was that was what we have up to this point. I do have a couple of minutes. That was a lot. But for those of you guys who are hopping on now, we originally started live by going over a video that went viral of a lovely young woman who talked about why she was a lesbian. And what I noticed in the video was she didn't say she was a lesbian because she just was born that way or because she was attracted. Didn't have any attraction to men or none of that. She didn't mention that. What she mentioned was that men are inefficient. Men don't have the emotional capacity. They don't have what it takes to be in healthy relationships. And so she is therefore drawn and attracted to women. That was the video that went viral. So I started with that. Then we're now moving on to this recent conversation that happened between a popular femininity page, Tani TKO, who is interviewing, I think, an up-and-coming femininity page, the Princella, and I think she calls herself the lesbian cult leader. I guess is what her words. And her goal, I think, is to try to teach women how to be queens, but she says she just happens to be lesbian. But they had a conversation as to whether or not the best option for women moving forward is being lesbians. This is what the entire conversation is about. Notice what we've seen up to this point has been laced with misandry and mixed in with pseudoscience, misinformation, and half-truths. So nothing that was said up to this point to me made even a little bit of sense. And then the things that did make sense, either they were out of context, they were misapplied, or like I said, at best, things are just downright misandrous. Everything from men are inefficient, men are incapable of emotional connection, men are intellectually deficient. And she wraps us up by saying she has the background, she has the education, she has the experience, and she therefore has the truth. She has the answer to help women crack the code on how to live a better, successful life. If that to me don't give me the heebie-jeebies, I don't know what does. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. So, but these kinds of scenarios, and I think these conversations happen because you have broken women out there who are confused, who are upset, who have had a history of broken relationships. Perhaps they are surrounded by women and other people who have had a history of broken relationships, and they truly believe that men are deficient or in some particular level. Again, what that fails to do is inspire these women to look in the mirror and see what in themselves is broken and what about themselves is causing them to continue to come into broken relationships. I've said this before and I will say it again. These lovely ladies, if the problem is you, it don't matter if you were in a same-sex relationship. It don't matter if you're in a heterosexual relationship. It don't matter if you're single. It don't matter if you go to Mars and marry a Martian. You will still manifest problems if you are the problem. And so I think instead of trying to come up with all these different pseudoscientific reasons that men are somehow inherently deficient when God himself said men are good, instead of doing that, I think it's a lot more efficient and effective for women to acknowledge their own shortcomings and their own problems and their own doings. Humility can go an incredibly long way. A willingness and a sense of honesty that says, I don't have it all together. I've screwed up my life. I've messed up my life can go a long way. But some people they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to do that. And that's what I say for me, why I find hope and why I take a lot of joy in the message of the gospel, because it's a place where I can be humble and I can admit my shortcomings, but I have the power of God to help me, to empower me to do better and to learn and to change and to evolve and to become a better version of myself, right? To do things that I couldn't do otherwise, to learn and to grow, to learn how to honor myself and therefore learn how to honor men and learn how to honor my husband and receive value from men. As I mentioned, she mentioned earlier that men are like, they're deficient spiritually. Some of the best spiritual advice and spiritual counsel I've gotten have come from men, Black men in particular, from my current pastor now, previous pastors, my husband, Black men in particular, who have been instrumental in my spiritual journey and continue to do so. But when you cut yourself off from those resources, when you cut yourself off from the truth about yourself, when you cut yourself off from the different resources that God himself has already provided that empowers us to change and to be better, then we start to fall prey to some of these doctrines, and they seem really, they're so seducing because they point their finger elsewhere, but they lack the ability for a person to look in the mirror and be self-reflective and acknowledge the broken, disgusting truth about themselves. And again, if you can't acknowledge those areas that are broken, that need healing, that you truly need God, the power of God, if you can't acknowledge that, like I said, there is no change. And you can go to Mars tomorrow and marry a Martian, and the problem's going to follow you to Mars. You know what I mean? So anyways, okay, right here, the thing says nothing is good or bad. Her success in any form will make it easier for women not to have to fight over the same men. All her followers need to stay far away from men, far away demonstrates. If it's any consolation, I'm pretty confident her followers are already doing a great job of keeping men away. I'm sure most of them listening to her have no problem scaring off men. So no problem whatsoever. Thank you so much, True Father Sankofa. I truly appreciate you. I thank you all you guys for the support.
That go the money. That go the money.
So let's see where we're at. Okay, so I have enough. If I could just get at least 3 more super chats, I will open up the call lines and then we can continue. We can talk, or if you want, there's a few more minutes of this, more minutes of this live that we can go over. So if I could get just at least 3 more super chats or cash apps or Venmos, then we can go from there. And maybe I can open up the call lines. You guys let me know if that's something you guys want to do. In the meantime, I'm going to go on a quick break. And y'all know what to do.
For every mountain you brought me over, for every trial you've seen me through, for every blessing. Hallelujah, for this I give you praise. Oh, for every mountain you brought me over,
All right. Okay. Well, so it looks like, okay, so we got Larry, guys. I just need, if I can get 2 more, you guys let me know if you guys want to open up the call lines. I just need 2 more contributions, and then I'll open up the call line, and we can just talk about what we have reviewed up to this point, or we can review a little bit more of this video. Up to you guys. So I'll go on one more break, and if not, then I get it. We can wrap this up for Friday, and you guys can continue your lovely week. So let me know. Okay, guys, we got one more. I just need one more if you want to open up the call lines. For those of you guys who joined kind of halfway through, we pretty much reviewed, we looked at a couple of different content. If you've missed it, that's fine. You can go back and review it. We looked at a viral video of a young lady who basically talked about why she's a lesbian. And as I mentioned before, she didn't mention her being lesbian because she was born that way or because she just didn't have attraction to men. She mentioned being lesbian because men are inefficient emotionally and incapable of maintaining healthy relationships or connecting in any meaningful way, right? So that was the first video that we reviewed. Then I went over to review a recent conversation that happened between popular female content creator Tony 2KO and I think up-and-coming content creator Princella Clark. And they looked at asked the question whether or not lesbianism was the way for Black women, for them to save themselves. And so that is what we reviewed a lot. We reviewed a lot. Like I said, if you're new here, be sure to go back and check. There is a lot uncovered. But what I found, going back to the original question and the original intent of this live, what I found is that I do believe and I do think that there are some women who disliking men and being angry towards men and who fully engaging in misandry turn to lesbianism simply because they want nothing to do with masculinity. Not even because they're not attracted to masculinity, not even because they're not even attracted to men. Because even some of the women that I've noticed who lead in that particular way or who traffic in misandry, they may be with women who present masculine and how they dress and how they do their hair and how they even present themselves. They're drawn to women who really lead with their masculinity, but they want nothing to do with men. And so again, I've seen this trend. I've seen this trend from women who previously, having had failed relationships time and time again, maybe even baby daddies left them, bad marriages, whatever. Later on in their life, they turn to lesbianism. And the reason is not because, oh, I always had this inclining or I was always curious or whatever. It's because the men are inefficient, right? And so that is the trend that we were looking at today. And after having reviewed some of the different content, I think we definitely see how the misandric messaging and the belief that men are incapable of engaging in any popular or any meaningful, healthy relationship could definitely cause someone to see women as the only viable option. Now, of course, I broke down the many different ways I think that's an error, and I think that's just completely false based upon pseudoscience and fully based upon an unwillingness for these lovely ladies to look in the mirror and understand why they are broken. And this could also be one reason why these ladies who, even in turning lesbianism, sometimes still end up engaging in very volatile and violent relationships, because we do know that female to female relationships are some of the most violent to date, not based upon my own feelings or based upon articles I've seen or based upon a TikTok video, but based upon the analytics. And if I need to pull up the source, so for some of you guys who are into the source, I'm happy to do so again, or I can link to it in the description box, because I've covered this in previous lives. I like to actually provide my sources. I don't like to just say that, I'm going to do it and not provide it. I like to try to provide it. So anyways, thank you guys. It says my lady and I right here are laughing along with you. Anyone advocating us men and women being separate from each other is not a friend of Black people. Our power is in unity. Yeah, that don't make no sense. Everything from, and she's trying to prove, she says, scientifically, molecularly, biologically, or whatever, we can see that the sexes are in competition. And I'm like, again, how was something that is integral to the human experience, that is essential to our survival, be in competition scientifically? Like, that don't make no sense. I don't even need to be a scientist to understand that the math, no math there. Okay. Anyways, so thank you guys for supporting. I do appreciate you. I do have a couple more minutes if any of you guys want to call in, or if you guys want to call in and just maybe review a few more of what it is she has to say, y'all let me know. So I'm going to drop the link. You guys let me know. Or what did I say? I should say call in. Let me say call in. You guys let me know how you want to do it. If you guys just kind of want to talk about some of the different things we've unpacked up at this point, because it's been a lot, or if you guys are kind of interested in maybe reviewing a little bit more, giving your intake of their particular breakdown. Up to you. Hey, Better You, what's going on?
Hey Shay, how you doing?
I'm good. Good. So what do you want? Do you want to just talk about what we've done up to this point, or do you want to react a little bit more to some of what's being said?
I guess we could talk a little bit about what's transpired up to this point, because what's really transpired with listening to this conversation, it is absolute lazy lowball attempt to intellectualize her misandry, and it is one in which honestly I've heard better. I'm disappointed.
You weren't impressed?
No, you can get way more creative. And even like the couple nuggets of truth that she did sprinkle in there is like, nah, that's not what that is. Like,
can you tell me a nugget of truth? Because I'm forgetting already. What nuggets of truth did she sprinkle in there?
Because technically, she's when she was talking about the sexes and about life starting and reproducing asexually.
Okay.
Like that for the most part is because bacteria reproduce asexually, and not even in the way that you would think of large. It's mostly reptiles that I can think of that are multicellular and reproduce asexually. Like mostly just lay eggs and are clones of each other. On a bacterial level, it's literally them splitting off. Not too uncommon from like worms. Like there's certain worms, like if you cut them or whatnot, like you just have two worms, and that's just how it goes.
We're not worms though.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it's a whole. It's one of those ones that honestly I feel like it's almost kind of like the whole Ben Shapiro thing, to where if you talk with a particular snarkiness and a little bit of speed in your cadence, then it's like, oh my goodness, they must know what they're talking about. It's like, nah, yeah,
that's kind of a big running joke, if you ask me. That's a big running joke, if you ask me, man. Where do these people come up with this nonsense? That's the question I have. I mean, are people really that stupid, or were they born this way?
I don't even really know where to understand. I don't know, honestly. I don't even know. I don't know how to make sense of that. What I can say is the lovely ladies, some of them I think connect with emotion. And if I think of, she was basically, I think, wanting to talk, use a lot of word salad to try to convince and show her audience that she has what it takes to lead them. It was maybe more like her flexing. I think it was more like her flexing.
Right. She's flexing, all right. She's flex. If you look up the word stupidity in the dictionary, I have a feeling you're going to find her face.
I mean, she's working backwards from her conclusion, and honestly, she's talking about the scientific and Socratic method. But what she's doing is the very antithesis of that.
Got it.
She,
Okay.
yeah, she very much has the opinion that men are lowly and less than, and I don't agree with them, and I don't rock with them, and that, you know what? Fine.
You can have that, yeah.
Brother, if I may, and I have got to quote Kevin Samuels on this. Look, if we're so lowly and useless, well, then how is it that we manage this woman happens to live in? We built the infrastructure. We built pretty much everything. All the stuff that exists right now came out of the mind of a man. But here we are, useless. Why do I not buy that?
Well, it's because it's not believable, obviously, and this is a first world problem because nobody's having this conversation in another country or nation where they literally depend upon the men for survival. We kind of have the luxury, to a certain extent, of devolving to a certain level of
idiocracy.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now the lunatics are running the asylum. It's quite sad if you ask me. It's bad enough that that men and women, that the trust between men and women are so bad that that my fellow brothers have said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm leaving. And first thing that happens is they say, fine, go ahead, leave. And then when they leave and these men start communicating with one another, saying that, look, there's greener pastures over here, leave this nonsense behind, then all of a sudden these same women that said bye and good luck are complaining. Aren't you the same ones that said that you don't need us? Okay, we've listened. We hear you. We're going over here. Now you want to jump in. Now you want to say, no. You can't tell me, you cannot come into a man's face and tell him. You can't give him his rule. You can't give rules of engagement to a man when he's not playing your game. If he's gone and created his own game, you can't come in there and tell him how to play that game. No. And then of course you have you have people just like this woman that are saying that the inhabitants of these quote unquote third world countries don't know any better when they happen to know more than most people. And I speak from experience. I've lived amongst these people. It's help me make sense of this.
You're thinking logically, brother. It don't make sense. You have to think with a mind of chaos, to even try to make it make sense.
And I'm not a chaotic thinker, my friend. Oh no.
Most men aren't, brother.
Well, here's the sad part about this is, and no disrespect to you, Miss Madre, but unfortunately, Black women in America as a collective are going to be single within the next decade. There won't be any men that they quote unquote that they'll have to complain about. Respectfully, that the cleanup men, the guys that were friend zoned, that were maligned for not meeting up to the stereotypical standards, they're taking their talents elsewhere. They're taking their talents elsewhere, and even the ones that are in the hood that are trying to get up out of the hood, they're taking notice too. They're packing their bags. I think you might have done a story on this before, but right now there is a backlog in the passport office. As a result of this.
I haven't done a story on the backlog, but where did you see that? I'm curious.
I read that's a simple Google search. There has been a backlog for a couple of months now.
I have mentioned that in general because the economy and the world itself is just more globalized, even apart from relationships, job opportunities, just the way nations, trade, things just becoming a lot more interconnected. It's just the future. So it's like, if you're not willing to compete, I don't really know what else to tell you because.
And that seems to be the problem.
Worldwide, period. I don't know.
That's the problem. Your sisters aren't willing to compete. They're not willing to compete for the men they say that they want. Well, that's at the end of the day, that is the topic of discussion. The late Kevin Samuels told your sisters, and I'm using this term loosely, told the sisterhood, you have got to prepare to compete because these men are leaving. They are opening up the ball, and what is happening is that in response we have the so-called passport sister movement, and they're going and making fools of themselves over in other countries. Yeah. They're getting hands put on them, or they're getting arrested.
Yeah, I think that.
If I may, brother, I think that the easiest way to simplify what you've been saying, especially in quoting good brother Kevin, winter has come, brother.
Oh man, and it is awful chilly out.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Miss Madre, I want to applaud you for attempting to help Black women see where they've screwed up, but I've got to be honest with you. It is time for scorched earth. This generation and the generation coming up behind it is lost. There is far too many toxic things put in place that are messing these gals' heads up. I'm sorry, but it's the absolute truth. It's from what I saw, and I think we've talked about this before. This started all the way back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Black men have had their image tarnished ever since the 70s with shows like the Phil Donahue Show. And then, of course, when the 80s rolled in, Oprah took the charge. And she opened up the bar with Sally Jesse Raphael, Ricky Lake, Tyra Banks. These were female talk show hosts that cut their teeth on bashing Black men. And it got worse. Black men have been on the business end of this for the past 50 years. We've been on the business end of being bastardized and bashed via every form of modern mass communication for over 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
But now, within the past decade, men have begun to return fire, and it's starting to hurt.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, let me say this real quick because I kind of want to get. Of
course, please.
Yeah, just going back, I guess, to the original topic, right, of just anger towards men and misandry leading to lesbianism. I mean, I think it sounds like we can all agree that there is definitely a pipeline. Or correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone is not in agreement with that.
No. You're right. You're right. We saw it with the therapist. Like twice.
Yes, with the therapist. That is honestly what got me to really think about this whole connection, because especially when I saw that the therapist had a kid, and some of the different tweets where she was like, she made references to her dad and how he broke her heart and how he wasn't there for her, and then references to a baby daddy, and then and then she ended up later on talking about lesbianism. So I was like, oh, that's I think really where my eyes and ears were open to it. And I've seen this in different videos and comment sections randomly, women talking about, oh, this and that, these men, and then now them being lesbians. Like I've seen it, you know. So
but here's the problem, since you brought that up. All right. First of all, that type of homosexuality is a choice, number one. Number two, it is an unwillingness to face yourself, to face trauma, to face yourself, to face things that have happened to you and acknowledge that it happened. Case in point, daddy broke my heart. He wasn't there. Did you bother to ask your mother why he wasn't there? Or did you make the assumption that he left, that he was irresponsible and he left? Men don't do things without some sort of thought process here. Now, going back to the 70s, men were pushed out of the house. All right. At some point, men had to get it out of the mud while the women got the welfare system. All right, and we've seen the results of that in the 21st century. I'm not going to sit here and draw a map for you. I think you can connect the dots. You're an intelligent person. But there's blaming men for your problems. No, you being a baby daddy, that's on you. You laid down, you bent over, and you let that man have his way with you, and you didn't take the initiative to protect yourself.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's your body, your choice, right? Well, guess what? It was your choice to get pregnant and carry that child to term. It was your choice to keep that child instead of giving up for adoption in hopes of it having a better life. That's all you, lady.
Yeah, no, that's true. Demetrius, what do you think? I know you've been kind of quiet.
I just hear his car in the background.
Yeah, I don't know if he's or is that better you? I can't tell. No.
Yeah, that's me. I guess I'll go ahead and go and say this. Since I guess Demetrius stepped off. Mr. Z actually has commentary and a term for this, which I think fits more and more the more I read Bell Hooks. Ironically, he calls it political lesbianism, and I'm highly inclined to agree.
Mr. Z. I may have to go. I may have to go look at some content.
He's like internet Batman, so I'm sure he's in the cloud somewhere listening.
Political lesbianism. Expound on this, please.
So basically, in short, the best way to describe it is, and I'll use kind of the highbrow Bell Hooks terminology. In short, these women want a certain level of power, status, and they feel that the average man that they encounter, and in particular the average black man that they encounter, is unable to bestow these things to them. As such, they begin to form a type of contempt for these men because they are not able to perform the obligations of manhood that they feel they should. And what ends up happening is they eventually just say to hell with men altogether and begin to engage in more and more queer relationships. It's basically the female version of gay for play. Like, I'm gay to the right man comes along. Perfect example is like Mayor de Blasio's wife. She was a lesbian for all this time. She met the rich white guy, and she was straight till his political career stalled out. Once it stalled out, she back gay.
Sure, boy. No, that's it, my brother. That's the definition of a gold digger, an opportunist. She didn't have no love for this man at all. She was just in it for resources. She's in it for what she could get from him. And again, I hate to keep leaning towards the men that are punching out of America, but sorry, no. It's what was she bringing to the table besides use the vagina? And I'm being PC right now.
Yeah.
What was she offering this man in return for his resources and his protection? Basically nothing. Zero, zip, zilch, nada. And I hate to say it, these political lesbians that you pointed out, they're in the same boat. They have they've nothing to offer men, and that is also another reason why men are leaving. The truth is that here in the West, women are dazed and confused and screwed up 7 ways from Sunday. I don't know how many different ways we can point this out, and when men point this out, we are subject to moving the goalpost to the phrase that Kevin Samuels coined called the sign language: shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. They will go around the block, up the street, down the block to prove that they are right, that what they're thinking is right, when in actuality it is so far out of order that it's unreal.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been waiting for Demetrius to get in, and real quick, I'll say this. I understand. Look, I mean, people grabbing passports. I've always supported people doing the best thing that they need to do to move along. There's no convincing a man either way. You're not going to convince a man to grab his passport. You're not going to convince him not to. Men make up their mind. I have these conversations because I think they need to be said. For those lovely ladies who want to listen, great. For those who don't, that's fine. But men are going to do what they're going to do. So Demetrius, I wanted you to, if you are there, I know you've been patiently waiting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just got home. I've been the whole time I was in your chat. I was literally driving up to Dallas.
Oh, no problem.
So stay safe out there, brother.
What'd you say?
Stay safe out there, man. People are getting crazy in Texas.
Yeah, I saw that, but I digress, right? Listen, one of the things that I caught when I wasn't in a dead zone, right, was the mental gymnastics that this lady was trying to perform. And I want to go back to my super chat. What the heck does molecular biology have to do with sociology? Because
not a damn thing. Nothing.
Exactly. And for the people in the audience, for the people in the chat, this is what I'm trying to convey. Because technically speaking, we're all some pseudo sociologists up here.
Right.
But she's trying to frame it as if she's actually legitimate.
Yes.
Okay? Sociology is the study of human interaction. We do this every day when we talk about the dating and mating conversation. This lady is trying to relate molecular bio, the study of how bodies work on the smallest level possible, to sociology and psychology. Psychology.
This isn't Star Wars, and we are not dealing with midichlorians, bro.
If you mind, can you, Coach, do you mind if he just finishes his point?
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
No. He's good because it helps to make my point. Yeah, we aren't dealing with the hive body right now. We're not dealing with the hive mind. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, Shay. But one of the things that I might have missed this, maybe I'm tripping, but one of the many red flags that I was taught by my parents before they sent me out in this world to college and all that is, number one, if somebody tries super hard to make themselves sound intelligent, chances are they aren't that intelligent.
Very interesting.
Number two, right? When somebody frames themselves as if they are the savior, that is one of the biggest red flags that you can ever see.
Huge red flag, yeah.
And the reason why is this, because they try to frame themselves as the center of your life, when the center of your life, sorry for all the non-Christians in the chat, should be God. Okay?
Agreed.
That's just how it
Amen.
is.
Amen.
Yeah. No, that's what I mentioned. I was like, you're not what? Like, what? Like I was surprised, truthfully. Just I think not only at the level of it's one thing to be confident and say, hey, I'm good at this, and have a healthy level. And it's another thing to be like, I have the truth for life. Like, that's a whole level that I don't understand and hope to never understand. And, here's the thing about it, too, I've noticed for these kinds of conversations. It's like, I try hard not to attack the person because it's like, I don't even need to. A lot of times it's like, you don't even need to go after the person themselves. All you have to do is listen to what they say, and they oftentimes will kind of bury themselves or dig themselves in a hole, and it's like, just based upon the logic of the arguments that were given, everything from her being the expert in human relationships and not being a sociologist and not even having a degree, and then comparing herself to the Manosphere that is full of doctorates, people who have actually completed college and college like each in college have wrote books, have engaged in studies, like comparing yourself as if you're not even equal, that you are superior. It's just like, this is wild. Like, just logically, this makes no sense. Like, it's completely insane to me. So yeah,
that's something that honestly bothered me, because it's quite obvious, and I don't need to be a molecular biologist,
right,
to like know that she's saying BS, because she's taking a little bit of truth and just adding on her perception to it. And another thing, side note, if she is studying to become like a molecular biologist, like in training, why can't we get this lady to a lab? Like, get a job, lady. Like, you got a whole daughter. Support your family. Focus on supporting your family. Stop trying to help everybody else out. You need to help yourself out first.
Yeah, I don't.
You remember that parable about the speck of sawdust and the plank? I think that's what you're getting at. Am I correct, sir?
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because as I mentioned before, nobody is perfect. Nobody has all the answers. I have many areas where I can grow and improve and change. So, the best I can do is try to offer facts, solutions, provide wisdom as necessary. But it's like, I'm certainly not God. Nobody, so again, it's one thing to say, hey, here's some wisdom, here's some advice, do the best that you can do with what you have, versus literally trying to make yourself like a savior. That's how cults are made. Cults are made by people saying, I have the answer, I have the truth, I have what it takes. Because and then they kind of position themselves as authority that you can't question. And then over time, that can really start to lead to cult-like behavior if a person suspends their own belief, they turn off their own logic and they start to believe in this person because, oh, well, they're right because of this, they're right because of that. That's like literally how cults are made. Like, and she called herself a lesbian cult leader, I guess, if I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and one of the things, Shay, I don't want to gloss over this. We frame in the Christian faith, we frame God as the supreme being of all knowledge, omnipotent, omniscient, and all that, right?
Yes.
The Bible literally speaks about these kind of people. I don't want to gloss over that. Pride is one of the biggest sins that you can ever commit.
Well, Doctrines of Demons, yeah.
In the eyes of God, young man, sin is sin. But you're right. Pride does come before a fall.
Yeah. And I think that's what I had mentioned before when I was like, I think someone mentioned it was First Timothy where it mentioned Doctrines of Demons, and I was like, a doctrine or an idea or a knowledge is demonic when it goes against the way God established things. And what was discussed up to this point literally works against the laws of nature, saying that essentially you don't need men and men are deficient, men don't have what it takes, and then actually genders are constantly in competition. Like all these go literally against how God created us to function and to maintain long term. And I'm like, clearly that's not of God. But these ladies don't want anything to do with God, some of them, because of the masculine attribute associated with it. I break this down in the tarot card terrorism.
Right, I remember that video, Shay. You were talking about like their structure, like God has rules and don't ever let nobody else tell you different, and they don't want to live by rules. They just want the blessing.
Exactly.
If I could cut in just a second, I think basically it hits on at the deeper problem, which is a lot of women, which part of it probably does have to do with the fact that a lot of men were pushed out of the homes a couple of generations ago. They don't know how to interact with a man of quality. They don't know how to interact with the man who, frankly, he's able to get sex anytime he wants. So if all you have to bring to the table is sex, then hey, what makes you different than any other contact that's in my phone? And that's where I think a lot of this comes from, is when, frankly, they can't act in a way that is constructive and conducive to a relationship because they haven't had that behavior modeled for them. All they know is chaos. All they've seen is belittlement. All they've seen is misandry. And that is what they emulate. And that is why when it comes down to a man of quality, they one, don't act volatile in the manner that they expect, but two, they don't know how to keep that man.
Or they'll gravitate towards the degenerates because it's the path of least resistance.
Right. Absolutely.
That mistreatment of that degenerate in their eyesight, that man loves me. No, he doesn't. That man has treated you as a sex object in a punching bag. That's it. I've witnessed that almost my entire life.
Mm. Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
But a lot of women, the first thing that women will say when men bring these things up, who hurt you? Wait a minute, who hurt me? What do you mean, who hurt me? What does who hurt me have to do with what I am witnessing right now, with what I'm observing? And then the backpedal. You're looking in the wrong places. All right, so let's look at this logically as far as where men look. Men have stopped going to the club. So All right, there's that piece. Most any man worth his salt, the club is the last place you'll find him.
That's true. Unless he's getting paid.
Okay, I hate to say this, but right now the church has become men are backing out of church too. They haven't backed away from their faith, but they're not going to the church because the church has been turned into anything but a place of worship. And of course, any man that seeks a wife or companion, he isn't trying to come into contact with a ready-made family. Forget it. But that's what you'll find in the church. You'll find women that are emotionally and psychologically damaged in the church 90% of the time, or the ones that are worth pursuing. They are physically unattractive. Men are visual creatures, but what man in his right mind wants to date a woman that weighs in excess of 250 pounds? No one. No man worth his salt. No, it's just wrong, all of it. But unfortunately, the women refuse to do the work to keep themselves physically fit. They have multiple children, have all of these excuses as to why they are the way they are, instead of saying, you know what, I don't have a chance. And the churches, unfortunately, are selling them a fake dream. There are too many pimps in the pulpit, men that shouldn't be preaching. And with respect to the young man that is a believer, you know, the Bible says there are rules to taking up a position as a deacon, for instance. But nobody talks about that. All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm starting to rant here.
Yeah. No, I understand. You know, that's a whole other. I mean, I've been involved in church my entire life. I've certainly had my negative church experiences, and I mean, right now I'm a part of an amazing church, so I know it's not all created equal, and I know that you deal with some mess because you have people out there who are just not in it for the right reasons. Right. But I never like to overlook those who are, because I mean, even now I'm incredibly blessed with the church that I'm a part of, and I feel blessed to have found it. But I know sometimes it's hard to find those places and sift through kind of the, you know, the mess.
Nobody should have to walk into a place of worship with their guard up.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. I understand. Yeah, I agree.
I understand that standpoint, but I feel it's absolutely necessary though. You have people who are teaching perverted scriptures. Like I think it was like a couple weeks ago, Devon Franklin was basically preaching that Eve was brought into the world whole from Adam, and Adam was left broken and incomplete. And
What?
it's like, oh yeah, you didn't see it. It was like last week.
Oh man, that's Kirk Franklin's voice.
You're kind of cutting up a little bit, but I will actually have to wrap.
I'm on the backwoods.
Oh, okay, all good. Yeah, no, I will have to back it up. I will have to wrap it up pretty soon. I need to get ready for dinner.
Miss Madre, again, I applaud you for your efforts, but my previous opinion still stands. It's time for the scorched earth. We have, as men, we have exhausted all means to ask Black women in America and American women in general, Black women in particular, to straighten themselves out, to stop this foolishness, and it is falling upon deaf ears. And so it's time. It's time for men to just drop them cold. The ones that are in the dating market, the ones that are married, my hat's off to you. Do what you are supposed to do as a wife. But as far as the ones in the dating market, it's time for them to get a dose of their own medicine 7 ways from Sunday. That is men leaving this country. That is men breaking their necks to avoid any kind of intimate contact with them. You know, they said it. They've said it in the '90s. I don't need a man. Okay, we've listened. We hear you.
Yeah, no, I know you've said that before. I guess I'm not fully understanding what when you say scorched earth, what that's the
What
message
I mean by
you're talking about. That's because I'm like,
what I mean
Mhm.
what I mean by scorched earth is this, and like I've explained a few moments ago, that black men black men continue to shrink the dating pool here in America and in the West, shrink it to where there are no pickings, to where they have nothing. The ones that are about something, that are in that process, that are in that journey, or who have already made it. It's time we took our business elsewhere. Um, even the one I hate to say it, even the ones that are worthy of the chance. Sorry, but it's time to make that. It's time to make a point. It's time to make a point that there needs to be more women like you and like Dee Dee. Shout out to Dee Dee. And shout out to Danica and her dope discussions. There need to be more women like you. There needs to be more women like you versus the knuckleheads that are out here making matters worse for women. That's what I mean by the scorched earth policy.
Okay.
It's time. It's time to snatch the rattle right out of the baby's mouth.
Okay, I hear you. Well, I know I personally am not in the business of telling, grown men what to do. But my thing is, I support the Pat pros, and ultimately men doing whatever they need to do to live their most happiest, fulfilled, God purpose life. I'm all for it, whatever that looks like. I don't have the answer. I'm a woman, so I'm not gonna sit there and tell men you got to do this. That's out of place for me. But
I'm glad you understand that. I wish a few of your sisters got that memo.
Yeah, that's not my place. It's not my place to tell men how they need to run their lives. I stay in my lane. I'm still growing and still learning, but I think this is a femininity channel. I'm going to give my perspective, and I'm going to try to give information as accurate as possible and share my faith. And ultimately, people get the choice to do what they want to do. But as far as men are concerned, I'm like, I'm not. What place do I have telling men how to be men? How would I even know what it's like to be a man? I just think that's inappropriate. So.
Oh yeah, that woman that you're speaking about on tonight's show seems to think she knows what it is to be a man, and she doesn't.
Well,
it's painfully obvious.
Well, yeah, that's not my lane. So, well, I do appreciate
the actions of a few. The actions of a few affect men. Please understand this maxim: the actions of a few affect many. The actions of many affect a few.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, thank you again, Coach Lee, for calling in. I
appreciate it.
Okay, looks like I have I think I have Demetrius.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay. Here's my closing thoughts, all right? So we have Shabri Rawls. We have the other Twitter therapist that went viral.
Yep.
We have situations where on Twitter, on YouTube, on IG, on Facebook, where these radical people are exposed every day. Make no mistake, if somebody is radical, usually they're wrong, more often than not. Okay? Princella, the Queen Maker, is a very radical person.
Mm-hmm.
The quote unquote solutions that she gave were very radical. She left no room for any other option. This is what people who see themselves as saviors tend to do. This is the way. There's no other way.
Yes. That's true.
And this is a very unhealthy way of thinking. So I'm not necessarily going to crucify the lady, but what I am going to do is I'm going to tell the young people in the chat who choose not to make themselves known or have made themselves known, stay away from radical people, okay?
Yeah.
Something's not right with them.
Yes.
And that's one of the main things that I want to push.
Yes.
Lastly, ladies who choose not to make themselves known in the chat, choose not to speak up, who are going to see this in the future and so on and so forth, listen. It's very clear to me that Princella, she presents to be a charlatan, and that's not necessarily me like putting words in her mouth. This lady literally calls herself a pimp on interviews.
Oh, I did not know that. I was not aware of that.
So on another channel, she listed all the traumas she had gone through, and this is what she thinks of men as a result. This is the mind of an unhealthy person. And I'm not saying like if you've gone through trauma that you're unhealthy because of that. I'm saying if you have gone through trauma and you now see the world through a radical lens, you have an issue. You have a problem. And that's exactly what Princella does. She is academically dishonest. And I would even venture to say she is a blind person leading other blind people who are actually some of them in more dire situations. You got to think about it. I don't necessarily want to make it about the people who are, false lesbians and all that. But some of these people have actually, they see her as like a light in the dark.
No,
because she framed herself that way, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it speaks to how she behaves like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Hey, flock, come and follow me. I'll lead us to safety. And she just leads all these women into a pack of other toxic women who are going to cause more harm and wreak more havoc in the end. Just ladies, watch out for stuff like this. That's all I got to say, Shay.
Yeah. No, I think you hit on some really, really, really key points. And that's what I said too, where it's like you don't even need to necessarily attack the person ever itself. You can just go after what they're saying or what they're doing, and usually it'll prove to be true or false. If she's calling herself the lesbian cult leader, she's calling herself I guess she said pimp. I haven't seen all of those interviews. I just know in this particular interview what I saw left a lot of room to be desired. A lot of things at best was half truths, misrepresented, a lot of narrative. I know she mentioned peer-reviewed studies. I didn't see anyone cited or read through. Now, granted, it was a 3-hour live. I didn't go through the 3-hour live, so maybe later on they went through studies. But anyways, I can't think of any study or any science out there that would validate that men are inherently deficient and that 50% of the population is wrong at all times because they're male. I can't think of any science, any scientific method that would ever affirm that to be true. That just to me sounds ridiculous at best. And I think it goes back to what we all know inherently is going on. When there is trauma, when there is brokenness, when there is pain. And I think I see some of you alluding to it, Alpha and Omega, in the spiritual realm. Yeah, like sometimes ladies, they make these pacts in the spiritual realm that they're not fully aware of, and then they become prey. They become easy to manipulate. And if you have these women who are they're broken, they are confused, they're looking for a savior, literally. They want nothing to do with the Most High. They want nothing to do with God because maybe they see God as something masculine and they don't like masculinity, whatever it may be. Then they leave themselves vulnerable to other individuals who are maybe equally as broken, if not more broken, but happen to have the ability to influence. They have the ability, and maybe they have the need to control and influence. Maybe they have the need to have a following. They have the need to be admired, as Miss Princella seems herself to have. She said she has the answers. She has the truth. And I'm like, the only person I know who has ultimately the answers to truth and to life is the Most High, is God himself, the creator, right? Is the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Christ. They're the only ones that I know to have the answers to keep to life. So I'm like, any other person in this human, they can have wisdom, they can have insight, they can have great things, but it's like, I don't need to sit down here and worship you. Like I don't, you're just a person, right? So anyways, but yeah, a lot to unpack. This has been a pretty long live 3 hours, guys. So did a lot of work here, but what did it say? Does this include Hispanic men? I'm seeing this random question. Oh, that's a great question. The live that we went over, I don't know if you're new here, it was men, period. From what I saw, I didn't see any emphasis on Black men. I mean, I think it was two Black women talking, but they are going after masculinity, period. Masculinity, period, is under attack. And to be clear, if you are a lesbian cult leader, as she mentioned, and you do like to have influence, and you do like to lead, and you do like to have some form of control or whatever that may be, of course, you're going to want to discourage women from getting with men, because that could be a potential partner, that could be a potential lover, right? So yeah, no, this was men, period, that were being thrown under the bus. Kind of crazy. So anyways, guys, thank you for hanging out here. I see you save others by snatching them out of the fire. I believe there's no such cost for it. I see what you're saying. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I kind of got to go back and think in this, because when she was like talking about keeping them out of science and then keeping them out of medicine and then the occult, and I was like, ooh, I just caught that. And I'm like, oh, okay, now we're getting into something. I kind of see what's going on there, because I definitely caught the, I have the truth, I am the way, men don't have the truth, men don't this, I am the way, I am the truth. I'm like, I'm over here thinking of scriptures I've seen of Jesus being like, follow me, right? Follow me, and then pointing to the Father, pointing to the eternal being, the on the spiritual realm. So I'm like literally thinking of words in scripture, and then I'm seeing her saying stuff like, I got the truth. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, wait, hold up, what's going on here? And then you fall, and then you listen to everything, and it's just word salad and just pure nonsense. Like, forget about from a spiritual level, just from a purely logical standpoint. You mean to tell me there's science here that is affirming that men are deficient, and you mean to tell me that you, a person who hasn't even finished their bachelor's, has the answer to all of these scientific, sociological problems ailing the Black community, and these PhD doctorates who have finished college and are teaching on colleges are inefficient? They don't have answers. Like, just even from a logical standpoint, it made no sense. And so yeah, when things don't make sense, it's probably because they're not meant to. Anyways, this has been cool. Thank you guys for hanging out. Be sure to like, share, subscribe on the way in. On the way in or on the way out. Share this with someone that you think may find it interesting. And I think ultimately remember that hatred is never the way, and hatred is never the answer, and undealt with trauma is never the answer. Unfortunately, again, when those things are undealt with and they are not addressed, then you can literally become prey for people who have ill intentions or who have agendas. And I think that's what's going on a lot right now with lovely ladies who are broken and just wanting some form of hope, but they're not willing to go through the process of humbling themselves to God. They're looking for an easy way out. And unfortunately, what may seem like an easy way out in the initial usually ends up causing more chaos in the long run. And I would advise you don't do it. Get your relationship right with God. Get your spiritual foundation right. I would encourage surrender your life to God. Seriously. I think he's the only one that can change this level of brokenness. And in doing so, go through the process of purification, honesty, looking at the decisions that you've made to mess up your life, being honest with that, and knowing that God truly does restore people. I have seen in my relationship with Christ, I have literally seen things be changed around and restored, and I'm still going through that process. So change is possible, but it requires humility, and it likely requires facing your own problems. And it also likely requires learning to respect and honor men, because that is a key foundational principle. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging out. This has been cool. Yeah, stay tuned for other upcoming content. Like, share, subscribe on the way out. Feel free to show love on the Cash App, Venmo, all that different stuff. Pass this along to other lovely ladies who you think are getting caught up in the occult. And thank you for hanging out. We will talk later, okay? Peace.